be
Mayor.
together. And the mayor called me just a little while ago, and he's still in recovery a little bit, so he's going to be fine. But he asked if he could just sort of take the afternoon off and get some rest, and for us, and he's going to be watching us, so he won't miss a thing.
Wave.
So anyway, hope everybody had a good week. So, City Council briefings. We have the Southside Network Authority project. Is that Steve DeBerry and Mike Lockaby?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to come up, please? Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
So nice to have you with us today.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand you're going to be leaving here and going all the way to Portsmouth with all the traffic,
Yes,
right?
we are. Very exciting.
We're daring.
Thanks.
So Steve is our executive director for the SNA, and Mike is our esteemed counsel and works very closely with Debbie Bryan.
Yeah, in the past, I worked with Steve when he was at Fleet Forces Command. I was at Submarine Force. We go way
Wow.
back.
Okay. So that means you can go easy on him today, huh?
They have a good story to tell.
Oh, I like that.
Love it. Love it. Okay, well, thanks. Vice Mayor, members of City Council, Mr. Manager, Southside Network Authority really is happy to be here today to just give you a quick brief on the Southside Network Authority. And as Ms. Wilson said, Mr. Lockaby will talk about the thing you're probably most interested in, which is the service agreement, participants agreement. So we have a clicker. There you go. Okay, so just a really quick introduction, because you guys are very familiar with the particular project, but the Southside Network Authority was created in November of 2019. Currently, there are the five Southside cities of Tidewater are members, and actually our goal is to enable broadband in the region at a lower cost, faster service, and we want to make it more available to everyone. This is the actual map of the fiber ring. Over the past 6 months, it was redesigned to make, with help from the various cities, the economic development, the IT staffs, to make sure that we hit areas of economic development, higher education, and we also took some advantage of economies of scale as we went through the various cities to leverage projects that were in place. And so, of course, for Virginia Beach, the easternmost part of the fiber ring, we connect to the transatlantic cables, which is a really great opportunity for the region. And we go as far west as Paul DeCamp Community College in Suffolk. And so the current design positions us for the next phases of the design, when we will move towards the western part of the area, which includes Southampton, Isle of Wight, Franklin, and then eventually also to the peninsula. And so we're very excited about that. Virginia Beach's portion of the ring is about 119 miles long, and 35 miles of that are here in Virginia Beach. So just briefly to let you know how we got to where we are in terms of funding, financing, and construction. When we started the process and began to look at cost estimates for building the ring, we really weren't sure of the fund source at the time. And so the authority, with Vice Mayor's help, went through what we called a dual-step process. And what we did was we went out and polled industry and looked at construction companies who were interested in building the ring, with the assumption that we would be able to come up with the money from the various cities, either through grants or otherwise. And turns out ARP became that mechanism. But not knowing that, and knowing we didn't want to grow a lot of overhead, we wanted to have a really lean organization, we went out with an RFP for private partnership. We know that industry does things better than government in many cases, and so we wanted to see who might be interested in actually potentially funding, designing, construction, and maintaining and marketing of the ring. So we were on this very aggressive timeline that would come to fruition in November, this past November, we wanted to do an apples-to-apples comparison of construction cost versus working with private industry. It was about that time that ARP dollars became available. Some cities were able to leverage that, and others used different colors of money, if you will. So we received all the information, and in November at our SNA board meeting, we made two decisions and developed two resolutions. Because we believe we have the money in-house to fund the ring, the authority decided and directed me to be in a position to award a construction contract based on the input that we received from our construction bids. Actually, there were 6 companies who bid. 2 of the companies fell within the range that we were looking for based on our original estimate of $23.8 million to build a fiber ring. But again, knowing that we didn't want to spend a lot of money on overhead, we didn't want to manage the ring internally because there would be everything from maintaining the ring to marketing the ring and doing the great things that would help this region from an economic standpoint, from providing internet services for unserved and underserved areas. We have begun negotiations with a local company, GTS. We're in what they call a PPEA process, and we will be negotiating with them on mutually what we can do together in terms of, in effect, they would be managing the ring, marketing the ring, and helping us run that ring. So I'm just going to quickly talk about next steps and then turn it over to Mr. Lockerbie. But again, we have a very concise timeline. Let me go back to that. So we met our November 21st date, and we're in a position now that once we come to agreement on the participants' agreement, we will be in a position to award the construction contract. We estimate about 18 months for construction, and then, as I said, we'll negotiate with GTS on how they can help us manage and market the ring. So I'll take a moment and just answer any questions you might have. Of course, you have put up $7 million of ARP funds for this project, and so we're well positioned, I think, from a Virginia Beach perspective. But before I turn it over to Mr. Lockerbie, any specific?
Mr.
Yes.
Ross.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So has the award been already granted to those who are going to construct it? Is there a company? You said there's
No,
been
sir.
awarded the contract?
4 of the 5 cities are meeting today regarding the participation agreement. And we think we will be in a position after the Virginia Beach Council meeting on 1 February to be in a position to have the money in hand to award the contract. So we have to have the entire amount of money in hand to award the contract. So we have not awarded the construction contract yet.
And what you perceive that happening today? So it would be weeks, a couple weeks or so to find out.
If we, I can just butt in, we released the invitation for bids last summer. We've gotten in the bids.
Okay.
Currently, the lowest bid was from the arm of Cox Communications that does construction. The second lowest is from Danella Construction Corporation, which is a major telecommunications and electrical utility construction company. They were both responsive. They were both responsible. We believe that they're probably responsive. Cox, there's some questions with, but that's another issue that the authority is working through how to deal with. We certainly know that Danella would do it. We're able to award or issue the intent to award as soon as we have the funds in hand, and that's what we're trying to get together tonight.
And so this partnership agreement with GTS, what is that will?
That would be for the operations, the maintenance, and the commercialization. We're not going to try to stand up something like your city water department where you have crews that go out there and everything that somehow are working for the authority. We would be contracting that out for a defined rate, and then we would also be outsourcing some, although not all, of the work trying to basically somebody else who's bringing in contacts in order to find customers who are interested in this. This is a situation where this is a bulk sales situation. This is not a system that you connect to your house. you would sell it to the person who was connecting to your house. And so we need to find those people who are interested in making those bulk purchases of capacity.
If I can, one more question. So the construction of this ring, and throughout the bid process, do you have SWAM goals or minority contracting goals within that?
We did. We required a SWAM contracting plan, and that has to be, we required that to be an upfront requirement with our pre-qualification process, which we did a pre-qualification of everybody before we let them bid. Also, our construction contract requires them to give us a SWAM procurement plan for at the pre-construction meeting. So after they've already signed the contracts with their subs, they need to present to us how they have complied with the requirements that are in our contract.
Okay, and as far as that, obviously the authority dictates how you award the contract. Is there anything from a city standpoint there else that we would need to be approved or anything from that standpoint?
No, I think at this stage, we just want to assemble the monies, and we'll be in a position to award the contract.
Okay, all right. And if you could just update me on what those percentage goals were for the SWAM participation in those contracts.
They were the same as what the HRPDC has. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we used the same language and goals as the PDC does.
Well, great, because I'd like more information to see how we can get our Minority Business Council updated with that information to see if we can somehow connect those businesses to that opportunity. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Moss?
Is GTS or another party going to be your quality assurance over the construction company?
Okay, so our QA, great question. Our QA will be done by our current engineering firm, CTC. When we hired CTC to perform the design, that's all they do. They design these types of rings, and they provide construction oversight. We have really tight metrics for quality assurance and timelines with liquidated damages if they don't make timelines. So CTC would provide the oversight.
So are they then making the recommendation for acceptance at completion to the body to accept, and are they bonded for that recommendation?
Yes, sir. If I'm reading it right, when we wrote the contract, it was in conjunction with input from the cities, CTC, who is our principal advisor. They would almost be like the Naval Facilities Construction Oversight that you're familiar with, and then Mr. Lockerbie from a legal standpoint.
So I just want to make sure that what you said is what I heard. How about that? Is that we have a construction company. They do quality control. We have someone who's doing the quality assurance for the agency. I'll just call it
Yes.
that for the ease of verses. And they're going to be recommending to the board, the governing body, when that work should be accepted and final payment made. Now, I'm asking is, when GTS takes over, not this is worst case, but that's what you're going to talk about, worst case, GTS takes over and finds out that what we thought we got, we didn't get, and now corrective action is required, is that liability with the people that recommended the technical acceptance because it met the terms and conditions, and it's their job to fix it and make recovery from the contracting company, or are you in the middle and having to resolve the differences? That's what I was really trying to get, that continuity of accountability, how that works.
If it comes down to it, everybody winds up getting sued. You've been through it enough times, it sounds like, to know that that's how it happens. There is no limitation of liability clause. We already have the construction administration team under contract. There is no limitation of liability clause in their contract.
Thank you.
It's not bonded, but it is. They are a stable firm of several decades
All right,
existence.
thank you very much. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Spoken like a
Nice.
true attorney.
Yep.
Anybody else have questions? Okay, Mr. Lockerbie? Did you?
Well, I'm
Thank you,
going to,
Steve.
Madam Vice Mayor, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. I'm going to step into discussion of the cost sharing and project participation agreement. I've been working on this now I've been working on it for quite some time. I've been working on it specifically with your city attorney's office. Ms. Kay Wilson has been working very closely with me and the other city attorney's offices to draft this agreement. The basic concept behind what we wanted to do was to have something that was simple, equitable, and repeatable. I know that you look at a 28-page contract and you think that it's not simple, but when you've got 5 city attorneys' offices involved, 28 pages is not a shock to anybody. It's also, despite being a fairly simple concept, somewhat difficult to put down in writing. So let me go through what the concept behind this is. There are 100 shares in the project, and these aren't like shares that you would issue on the stock market. They aren't tradable to the public or anything like that, but it's a good concept for you to have in mind as you try to understand how different people's investment in the project works. There are 100 shares, and the number of shares that you purchase is equal to the amount of control you have over the decisions made with respect to the project. It's the amount of money that you put in at the front end in terms of capital. It's also the amount of potential upside you have if it starts spinning off money. It's also the amount of potential downside if the whole thing goes kaput. It also determines the number of strands that you get for free to use as you see fit as a city. All cities are guaranteed 20 shares if they want it. So a 20% stake, and that would be a $5 million buy-in. My understanding is that y'all have put in your capital improvements program as well as budgeted, as well as appropriated $7 million, which gives you an entitlement to up to 20 shares. You would be able to buy 20 for certain. Depending on what other cities do, you might be able to buy a larger share. I know that Portsmouth is also going to City Council tonight to talk about this. The recommendation from their city manager is to purchase only 14 shares, which would mean that you would have the opportunity to purchase further shares at a par of $250,000. If you do out the arithmetic, that equals $25 million. The bid that we got from Cox was approximately $18 million. The bid that we got from Danella Construction was $24.5 million. The thought is that $25 million gives a little bit of operating capital as well as a little bit of a margin for change orders. That's the basic concept, and we think that it was designed to be equitable insofar as the amount that you put in is the amount that you get out, just the same as would be if you entered a business together. And finally, repeatable in as much as this was originally a project that was stood up largely within the scope of the HRPDC. It is independent of HRPDC. It is not under any control of HRPDC. However, it was originally largely an idea that came up through that path. And consequently, there was something that I was told that was part of my charter as the attorney ever since the beginning of working with this group, was to make sure that we had a path that was repeatable if in the future we wanted to do additional projects. And you can imagine how at some point in the future, Virginia Beach and Chesapeake might decide that you want to do a project together that's separate but under the ambit of the authority. And having this same project participation agreement mold allows for those two cities to have their own project within the larger umbrella of having the regional authority. There is, as part of the board, the authority has a board. The board has 5 members, each of whom has an equal vote. The way that this is set up is that there is actually a committee in which each member on that committee gets a vote commensurate with the city's share that they have purchased. So if you have, let's say, 25 shares rather than 20 shares, or excuse me, 25% rather than 20%, you would have a 1/4 vote rather than a 1/5 vote. So again, control over the day-to-day operations and what the ring is doing is divvied up that way on the project committee. There's also provisions for an annual budget. The annual budget is set up such that it would be covering actual annual costs, in addition to providing a sinking fund for future replacements. A fiber optic connectivity ring is a 30 to 40 year asset before it needs any significant replacements. That's just the lifetime of fiber optics. However, a lot of the electronics handholds, et cetera, that need to be done, those need to be replaced on schedules anywhere from 7 to 20 years. And so there's a provision for a capital replacement program going forward. It's also insured, et cetera, et cetera. I can go through a lot of the details if you would like. I just wanted to lay out those basics. Our goals were simple, at least conceptually, equitable in terms of you get out what you put in, and repeatable in terms of if you want to do another project of similar scope in the future. Are there questions?
Mr. Moss?
What is the procedure, and I probably was in it, I just can't recall it, because we know the representation of cost allocation and return on investment or equity, how you want to look at it, when it starts out. But how can the board unilaterally within itself change from the base construction at the time of adoption, the allocation of cost, return on equity, all those things that we see today? Under what process can the board make changes in those foundational things that we vote for when we vote for it, when we no longer are in control of what we're accepting?
By mutual agreement of the authority in all of the cities.
Unanimous.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure the public knows that, because that's often a question you get asked. Like, are we buying a timeshare where people have had that experience, or just what it is, but what's the safeguard, that unilateral change of agreements? But thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jones?
The additional operations that you're talking about, are they subsidiaries of the basic organization, or how's that work?
Those would be set up under a separate project participation agreement. They would go under a separate accounting fund, just like your water fund is a separate fund from your general fund. They would be set up as a separate enterprise fund. That's the concept there. But that's still very hypothetical. It's not really what we're here for
How's
tonight.
the control going to be set up for them?
Similarly, through a separate project committee. Yep.
Any other questions? Mr. Rouse?
It's just, I heard you say Cox, Denala, construction, but I didn't hear you say Verizon. Is that because they have their own optic, fiber optic lines, or?
They chose not to bid.
Okay.
Can't make somebody bid.
That's absolutely correct. I was just curious. I heard all of the major suppliers of internet in our area. I didn't hear their names, so I was kind of curious why. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, thank you for such a wonderful presentation, and looks like it was well accepted, and please drive safely going to Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor.
Thanks, everyone.
And I also just wanted to mention that Mr. Bellucci is not well today, and that's why he couldn't be with us. Okay. We have another briefing, and that's with the city schools regarding the reversion and revenue sharing formula. And I think that's Crystal Pate. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you
You might
very
want to pull that microphone down a little bit.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, and Mr. Dehaney. We want to thank you for the opportunity to brief City Council and discuss the school board's reversion resolution with you. With me today is our Chief Operations Officer, Jack Freeman, our Executive Director of Facility Services, Tony Arnold, and Charity Zelmer, our Budget Coordinator. I believe you should have received in your Friday packet a copy of our PowerPoint, copies of the narrative and budget detail of our Federal CARES and American Rescue Plan, or ARP, applications, as well as detail of the $5,011,000 included in the resolution for maintenance and repair projects and equipment. I want to review what the school board is requesting as a reversion in the amount of $54.9 million to be appropriated in the following ways. Approximately $45.4 million to the CIP fund, $8.6 million to the operating fund, and $900,000 to the athletic fund for lacrosse program startup cost. I'm going to begin by sharing with you this afternoon a summarization of our fiscal year and 2021 reversion funds and the revenue sharing formula reconciliation between city and schools and related reversion resolution as approved by our school board. I'm not sure if I can hit the right button for this. The first slide provides a breakdown of the components that comprise the $54.9 million reversion reappropriation request. The first line of $14.5 million shows the school operating fund reversion, excluding any of the revenue variances for the school division. The amount represents about 1.5% of our approved operating budget of over $800 million. The next section shows the school division's revenue variances. As you can see, we came in over budget in federal revenue by $4.7 million, mainly due to impact aid receipts, and we were over in state sales tax revenue by $7.9 million. We came in under budget in state revenue by $1.9 million, due mainly to lower enrollment, and under budget in other revenue by $650,000 due to decreases in areas such as facility rentals, summer school fees, and other various tuition streams impacted by COVID-19. In total, the revenues came in over budget by $10.1 million. These additional revenues were not anticipated and therefore not appropriated nor available to the division for spending in fiscal year 2021. Combining the $14.5 million and the $10.1 million brings our total school operating fund reversion for fiscal year 2021 to $24.6 million. Our athletic fund had a reversion of a little over $400,000, and Green Run Collegiate had a reversion of approximately $700,000. This brings the total fiscal year 2021 reversion to approximately $25.7 million. The revenue sharing policy formula jointly agreed to by both city and schools resulted in additional revenue to the school division of approximately $29.2 million. This is over half of the total request for reappropriation. Adding the $25.7 million and the $29.2 million brings the total funding available for reappropriation to the $54.9 million shown at the bottom of this slide and the total request in the division's reversion resolution. This next slide contains the spending recommendations as approved by the school board. I'm not going to go into each line, but would like to note that approximately 82.7% is recommended for spending on our capital improvement program. Previous discussion with city council members in years past provided us direction to use reversion funds for our CIP program, and that is what we have done here by placing funding into projects and facilities maintenance that has not been addressed to date in our operating budget. Many of these are existing projects. Project 1-030 payroll system replacement and 1-031 school bus and white feet replacement are new project requests. The request for the payroll system replacement is due to the fact that our current payroll system is approximately 20 years old, and it is expected that over the next few years, the vendor will announce that mainstream support for the application will end in the next 5 to 6 years. The project is requested to allow the school division to begin funding for the replacement of the payroll system, which, as you know, is a critical operating system for any organization. Initially, we believe the cost to be in the $14 million range, and certainly believe that this cost will change over time. The school bus and white fleet replacement project request will provide funding to replace outdated yellow fleet buses and white fleet vehicles, as well as maintenance service vehicles from the white fleet. Operating budget funding has been unable to support the demand for replacement of aging fleet vehicles. We've attempted over the years to build into our operating budget some funding for these replacements, but we have not been able to keep up or maintain an adequate replacement cycle. The $11 million is the amount previously adopted in the latest CIP budget to be allocated from reversion to be put into our school reserve special revenue fund for use in fiscal year 2023 CIP. At the end of this presentation, we will show you a recommended option for this funding. There is also a recommendation for $900,000 to be used for the startup costs for the varsity lacrosse program previously approved by the school board, and these funds will go into our athletic fund. There's also a recommendation for approximately $5 million for maintenance and repair projects and equipment, which, as mentioned, you should have received detail of in your packet. Next, I want to switch gears a little bit and present information on the federal funding we received through the CARES and ARP funding as a result of the pandemic. There seems to be questions or discussions surrounding items included in our reversion resolution and the allowability of some of these items on the CARES and or ARP funding. I would like to address that topic and provide clarification on why we made the decisions we did. As mentioned earlier, you should have detail of what we submitted and was approved by the Virginia Department of Education for CARES and ARP funding with corresponding narrative and budgeted dollars. This federal funding passes through the Virginia Department of Education, and we obtain these funds through a reimbursement basis. We do not receive these funds up front. We submit applications and, if needed, subsequent amendments to those applications, and these must be approved as well by the Virginia Department of Education prior to charging any of those expenditures to the grant. As we incur expenditures, our finance office must file reimbursement requests with the Virginia Department of Education in order to recoup these funds. Reimbursements are typically filed quarterly for these types of grants. CARES and ARP funding for school divisions have stipulations surrounding the use and allowability of expenditures. This slide provides an overview of CARES Act, or Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief. We refer to that as ESSER funds. Note that the funding for CARES was provided for school divisions to address the impact of COVID-19 on schools and help school districts safely reopen schools and measure and effectively address learning loss. ARP funding provided direct aid to also assist in safely reopening schools, as well as sustain the safe operation of schools and address the impact of COVID-19 on schools. 20% of these ARP funds must be used to address learning loss. This next slide generally provides the division items to consider when determining if an activity is an allowable use of our CARES and ARP funds. Is the use of funds intended to prevent, prepare for, or respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, including impact on social, emotional, mental health, and academic needs of students? Are the costs reasonable and necessary to meet the overall purpose of the program, which is to prevent, prepare for, and respond to COVID-19? This slide shows the 3 ESSER grants we have received, the award amounts, and the expiration dates of the funding. As you can see, we are given time to expend these funds, and based on the dynamic environment in which we are operating in related to impacts of COVID, we have tried to strategically plan out spending related to each of these grant awards, coordinate efforts to be efficient, flexible, and avoid duplication, so as not to waste this opportunity to implement short-term strategies while also considering longer-term investments. This slide shows examples of the types of items included in the ESSER applications. The reason we show you this is that all the items listed in our reversion resolution would not be allowable expenditures funded in our ESSER grants, with the possible exception of some future expenditures that may be charged to Project 1-018, Renovation and Replacement HVAC. Not all HVAC and construction projects are allowable. They must be tied to COVID mitigation, including such projects improving air quality, heating, and ventilation, and projects that would promote social distancing and safe in-person instruction. These types of projects must be submitted to the Virginia Department of Education for approval prior to them being submitted to the grant application. And just to point out, we originally submitted our CARES ARP applications with a lot of HVAC projects in them. However, we did have to amend the applications and remove approximately $32 million worth so that we could request funding for retention and recruitment incentives for hard-to-fill positions, from teachers to custodians to bus drivers to school food nutrition service people, and to temporarily increase our substitute pay in an effort to get some of our vacancies filled and to attract substitutes. As we are in a staffing shortage situation where there are many efforts underway trying to recruit and retain staff, especially staff in our schools that directly impact keeping schools open and operational. In addition, the next slide represents recent information where we received an additional $13 million grant award for specific HVAC projects which relate to qualifying ventilation replacement and improvement projects in public school facilities. This additional funding runs through December 31st, 2024. This will assist in completing some of the HVAC projects we had to pull off the CARES and ARP grant funding. So there was some discussion that it might be a better plan to propose an option to our original resolution where we actually dedicate a portion of this funding to specific projects to show we have the intention to getting these projects started and completed as quickly as we can. These next 3 slides speak to this option. This slide outlines the proposed change to the original resolution. We are moving $2 million from Project 1-020, Renovation and Replacement Various, and putting it into the Bayside High School project for fiscal year 2022. And of the $11 million that was approved in the most recent adopted CIP to be used in fiscal year 2023, we are proposing dedicating another $3 million to Bayside High School and the remaining $8 million to Princess Anne High School project. The Bayside High School project currently has no appropriations to date, and this will provide $5 million over the next 2 fiscal years to get this project started. And our original resolution dedicated $7.5 million to the Betty F. Williams Bayside 6 replacement project, which originally had 0 appropriations date in the original adopted CIP. So these next 2 slides just show the original funding summary related to the original adopted CIP, and then the impact of this proposed change to the funding summary as highlighted in this slide. So just some final thoughts. It has been stated that the likely cause of the school board reversion request is the failure to properly execute the over $1 billion school board budget. We want to be emphatically clear that this is not the case. Any comments alluding to financial mismanagement are incredibly serious and should not be made lightly. We have stated that it is not physically responsible for the school division to spend our budget down to zero. There are many school divisions in other parts of the country where maintaining a fund balance is a required part of their financial practices. The revenue sharing policy is jointly agreed upon by both bodies. It was established in other variations many years ago, so a predictable level of school funding would be known, thereby mitigating competition with demands for other city services. It is the intent of the policy to provide a planning and allocation tool that yields sufficient funding to maintain VBCPS's academic success, as well as the city's strategic goals. Both bodies worked recently on getting set-asides out of the formula to make the calculation more stable year to year. City and school leadership shall meet annually to discuss changes in state and federal revenues that support schools' operations and use of one-time revenues and any adjustments made to existing revenue affecting the formula. If it is determined that an adjustment is needed, the city manager and the superintendent will brief city council and school board respectively. Fiscal year 2021 revenue sharing formula reconciliation resulted in an unprecedented amount compared to previous years. And if the impact of COVID-19 has substantially reduced city revenues as originally anticipated, the school division would have been expected to share proportionately in that revenue shortfall, as we have done in years past when that has occurred. The items being requested in this reversion resolution are significant investments to our facilities and upgrades to technology that need to occur, and we believe the agreed-upon revenue sharing formula should be adhered to at this time. So that concludes our presentation, and we will be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I'd like to say something first, if you don't mind. That was a very good presentation. Thank you so much. And Mr. Jones may want to comment on this too. Mr. Jones and I and the manager and our financial people met with the school leadership, with the chair and the vice chair, and Crystal and Dr. Spence. And we wanted to talk about this. And Mr. Jones and I have been sitting on the School Modernization Committee for 20-some years.
Yeah.
More like 22 years now, right? And we thought that this particular year where there was more money that was left over is historic. And we really wanted to see more money put into school construction. School construction is just a major area that, and the schools are getting way and way more expensive. Princess Anne High School is supposed to be $162 million, which we thought 108 was high for Kellum. And Bayside, which is my alma mater,
Mine too.
is almost close to 200 million coming up. So, and I know that you've got some land sale property, and I'm hoping that you will take that money and also put it into school modernizations and to school construction. So we wanted y'all to know how we all came together and we really worked on this issue, and they've come back with some alternatives from what they first offered. And I just want to thank you so much for listening and hearing what we had to say and coming back with these renewed, more funds in the school construction, which we really, really need. Mr. Jones, did you want to add something to that?
Only that I'm very pleased with the presentation, and I appreciate your efforts as far as the Betty F. Williams School, which we've been trying to get done for a very, very long time. And the fact that we are putting altogether $5 million towards the planning and development of the new Bayside High School, and also the $8 million towards Prince Anne High School. All of these are construction projects that we've been trying to get done. We haven't been able to get done, but the fact that we are committing these funds now to these particular projects shows a great deal of cooperation on your part, and I just want to thank you personally for that.
Thank you, and we also appreciate that collaboration
Thank
as
you
well.
so
It's very
much.
helpful.
So thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak. Mr. Moss.
Well, I didn't realize we had already voted and given the money away, but it doesn't belong to us, it belongs to the taxpayers. But you did say in your remarks that there was no money appropriated for Prince Anne High School, is that correct?
No, I said Bayside High School and Betty F. Williams and
Well-
sixth grade replacement.
But if you look in the approved CIP, those are all fully funded projects.
No.
Well, I'm looking at the document.
Yeah.
I can just tell you. But let's go back to Prince Anne High School. That's been appropriated $43,462,277 to date. That's right in this document. I can put it up on the screen. And it shows it has money all through the scale. It shows down here, that's the full appropriation, and money is either budgeted, appropriated, or programmed for its full funding. Now, when you are spending additional money, are you giving any of that, when you take that cash, are you giving any of the borrowing authority that previously was authorized that you're displacing with cash, are you giving that borrowing authority back? So you actually are increasing the total value. Don't shake your head. I can look at this document. You got borrowed money. You are funding the project with borrowed money. You're now using cash to get it more cash sooner, which means you should be displacing the borrowing that you were relying upon, which shows in the summary. I mean, I'm not making this up. I mean, it's a net increase in spending across the 6-year period that we haven't even adopted yet, because you're wanting additional borrowing authority in what would now be the 7th year.
Would you like for me to answer that question?
Well, I'd like to finish if I could.
Sure, certainly.
I want to go back so the public knows what's in this document. So if you go back and look on page 31 of the CIP, which I'm sure you have read before, and you look back and see the amount of money that you are using from public facility bonds, in each and every year, starting in 22, the year we're in, is $15 million each and every year for $120 million. That's how you balanced your program. And then you went back and used charter bonds in the amount of $5 million each and every year, which is how you balance those bonds that are in the CIP. And then you have fund balance in only 1 year, $7.5 million in this year, which this council granted and put in there over and above, out of the city side, if you may recall. And then you have pay-as-you-go, which doesn't have any money in 22, but shows 500,000 and then $1 million in the out years. So principally, the source of funding is debt. So if we're coming in against a $162,000 requirement, and that's right by this document and this page being funded by debt, and now use $8 million in cash, by definition, that should release back to us $8 million of borrowing authority, which is important because we have got so much committed on bonded debt limit capacity for flooding that we have other economic development issues that are in need or possibly in need of debt. So it's like you're getting cash and you're wanting to keep the debt too. Did I misread something on this page?
Tony, welcome. And you're going to be retiring soon, I understand. Is this your last meeting with us?
I think this is my last meeting in front of this elected body
Well,
after 34 years. Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
for being here with us, and I think it's probably a good thing when we can have some cash to supplement to be able to bring home these projects sooner. But let you answer that, please.
So really to touch on what Crystal said about the commitment that has been made over the past year as a result of what we heard from 2 council members who have served on the School Modernization Committee for more than 2 decades, where we got away from utilizing reversion funds for one-time capital projects. So you saw a commitment in last year's capital program to restoring back reversion funds and cash into the CIP. You see further evidence of that today in this resolution. There's a sense that if you use the cash for the reversion fund for, in this example, 8 million of the 11 for Prince Anne High School, the other 3 for Bayside, 2 million of the other reversion funds for Bayside, that increases the project. We're not saying that. Let me say that, put that to rest. What that does is that puts cash in the appropriations to date, and also the 11 million in reversion funds that are scheduled to be appropriated next fiscal year will enter as cash from reversion funds in those particular projects. We will balance those projects. They will not increase the overall project cost for any of the projects, be it Bayside, Princess Anne, or Betty F. Williams. What it will allow us to do as a school division is start those projects earlier. You may or may not be aware of this, but we received an unsolicited PPEA proposal from SB Ballard this summer for those 3 projects on the order of $400 million. We put an RFP back out this fall. That RFP closed before Christmas on December the 20th. We got a competing proposal from the WM Jordan team. We're in receipt of both those proposals. They're being evaluated right now. We expect that over this spring and into the summer that we will come back to the board with a recommendation regarding that PPEA package, hopefully to build all three of those schools faster and less expensive. I think that's one of the goals of innovating in a PPEA package. To answer your specific question, we're not talking about giving back the borrowing authority that is in the individual years that's been allocated to the school division as part of the targets. What we do is we redistribute that within the projects to keep the projects balanced. And that's in keeping with what we've done in the 34 years that I've been here. When we revert reversion funds back as cash into the capital program, which was a long-standing practice for the first 20 years of my career, we balanced projects, but we did not give back borrowing authority that we used to maintain our infrastructure.
Well, my point to my colleagues is we've never had the public approve a $567.5 billion bond referendum for flooding that consumes a large amount and pushes up towards because our most constrained requirement is borrowing. So I think we have to look, the past is not, the future is not linear. I think we have to look at the future, what our future demand for debt is, and whether or not that philosophy is the best use in meeting all the public's larger needs. And in fact, maybe that has a higher and best use to the larger city outside of schools. But I would hope that $43,462,277 is sufficient money that would allow you to accelerate Prince Anne High School without $8 million. But that's a matter of an opinion, and I guess this body will have to decide that. But could you go back to your slides? Because one thing we can't decipher from all this, if we take the appropriation that the school board received in May of this year, I think it was May 12th, starting July 1st, was X number of dollars. You under-executed those dollars in and of itself by about $14 million, my memory serves me correct. And then those revenue sources that form the funding formula bring in another $26 million worth of funding and brought in money on the city side as well, all those revenue sources, because they overperformed our estimate. And under the agreement, neither of those funds are legally entitled to be distributed back to the schools. When you read through that funding agreement, there's no legal entitlement to those funds. And you executed and met your mission in the year in which those revenues came, they were not needed because no one threw up the white flag and said we didn't perform. So that's a big amount of money. On top of that, you got $10.1 million after the budget was adopted from the state. I do believe that's your money, that's the content, that should be yours. But my point being is that other money on the city side and this side is really in the common pot against all the competing requirements in the city. So I have a hard time seeing how $3.5 million for artificial turf on 2 high schools is more important than providing tax relief to people who can't even repair their homes, and no one's given them extra money to modernize their houses or keep them safe. So I have a really trouble, and I want the public to know that's the kind of money that's in there that you're asking us to give you money back for, is for that. And that's of your high priority. And then when we add in all the other money, and you didn't spread it out over the profile year, so the CARES Act money that has multiple year obligations, we didn't get a funding profile that shows how much of that's being expended in the current fiscal year, how much is available in the future. We didn't get that in this packet. We also didn't get how much you're under executing the appropriation that you did receive on May 12th, effective 1 July. You've talked about severe staffing shortages, and I know that's true. Well, about 85% of your budget is labor. So if that's structurally carrying through, there must be a substantial sum of dollars that will end up in the ending fund balance come June 30th when it's all finalized in August, because if you're not hiring these people, you can't make up a pay period. In the past, you can't, like a hotel night, you can't rent it again once it's vacant, it's empty. So that's accumulating in the system. We didn't get an estimate of that because I think we are partners. We are partners, but there are a lot of needs in this community. And if we are accumulating money on the city side as well, because we're under executing, 14% in some cases, so we're going to have a big contribution to that same pot. But guess who is being left out of all the discussion? The working men and women of this community say, and that's what Governor Youngkin's talked about, these people are not at the table getting an advocate. There isn't, saying, hey, where am I? We all have to, contribute to giving tax relief to our citizens in this budget year with money we have this year. So if we're under executing, say $30 million, that's probably not off by far, and you've under executed probably close to that, you got a much bigger payroll, then we should be taking that into account. And what I'm suggesting, Vice Mayor, is the time to be making this decision isn't today or isn't February 1st. I think we should be making this as part of the budget adoption process. I mean, and I don't know how anyone up here wants to, and I don't surprise the school board is, defending $3.5 billion for artificial turf when we have a lot of unmet needs in our community. That's really the highest priority in the school system of all the things we can fund? I suspect not. And if there's something structurally wrong with the pay system that we have for teachers and 9% unemployment, then you got to be creative. Then maybe we should be taking some of these recurring structural revenues and dealing with the compensation issues with structural revenues rather than later coming back and saying we've got to increase taxes on our citizens because we've now made these commitments with recurring cash, because some of these things come from recurring sources. And I just don't think we got a holistic look. And if you think about all that money you have, plus on top, and the under execution, you're talking a lot of money. You're talking about $150 million, maybe, money that, and I'm sure every family could get that. They could think of a way to spend it. But the real question is, to my colleagues, and trying to get the general public to read that and understand what's being made, and that you are actually increasing the CIP, that's an opportunity cost. That's debt service that we have to think about. Is this the highest and best use? Is it the highest and best use? And I don't see the compelling narrative that has said that that's the highest and best use against the demand and providing tax relief to our citizens. And I can't track which Hvac projects were in the initial CIP and which of those projects, if any, were actually funded with federal money or will be funded with state money, and how was those assets redeployed. So I'm to this day reading this, and I shared this with my colleague in advance, I'm unclear as to what your really net cash position will be on 30 June. And not even an estimate, and the parametric costing would allow you to at least do an estimate, but we don't see that because there's an opportunity cost, and we're being asked to make a decision at a budget cycle only because it's such a unique set of circumstances that we face today. It is unique. You have unique cash. You are under executing now. So if you're under executing now, how critical is what is not happening if we don't act to the budget process on $54.9 million? And why shouldn't, if we need some of those dollars, Madam Vice Mayor, to deal with economic incentive issues that we might otherwise could pay with cash versus borrowing that generate revenues for schools, that discussion hasn't taken place here. This is a better presentation than we got originally, I will say that. But the transparency about really what is your true cash position and the relative justification for some of these things, I think falls short, and I would think most of the public that we're asking to comment on February 1st doesn't have enough information to give us, the council, any input that would tell us about the relative priorities because they don't know the opportunity cost of the choices. So I am not yet convinced that we should return all the $54.9 million. I've made that clear. I think we have some higher needs. One of them is tax relief that you need to participate in for our citizens that need it. And I think the Governor Youngkin is right. And secondly, I think we have economic development opportunities that require cash to allow us to grow our economy that produces revenues for schools. And I just think this presentation doesn't put me in a comfortable spot to say that you've made, that the school board, and I know no school board members are here, nor the superintendent, which is kind of unusual for such a huge request.
They had a meeting that started.
I know, I understand, but it is for a big request. We could have scheduled it for another day when they could be here. But my point being is, it sends its own message for such a huge request, and I don't believe the case has been made.
Mr. Rouse?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. First of all, Tony, thank you for your years and decades of experience and dedication and commitment to our school system. I'm sure on the school board side of things, your experience is going to be surely missed. I just have comments, not necessarily any particular questions. I do appreciate your presentation as well, Ms. Crystal. So thank you all for being here. My overall thought, just I anticipated a large sum of money left over, just coming outside of a pandemic, and I can honestly say what you all have done to make sure our kids had the necessary educational equipment, the laptops and things, being there for our teachers, making sure they have the resources throughout there. And mind you, a pandemic is still going on with these new variants happening every single day. And that takes a lot of stamina and consistency to constantly come to work and figure out where is the money, how to, we talk about capital improvement projects, how to get those on track and how to speed that up. And so I can only say I thank you for your fortitude as well. And as I continue to dissect these numbers, I understand the tough challenge you all have ahead of you. But make no doubt about it, I personally think now is not the time to divest from our education. And if anything anything good came from this pandemic, you can almost say it was a saving year. You talk about saving on gas and the tires and the type of wear and tear and the maintenance put on school buses. I think this year, this pandemic has allowed the school to do just that and make up some ground. And so I look forward to seeing how we can support our school system and how we can make sure our kids in Virginia Beach remain one of the top accredited school systems in the country. So thank you for your service and thank you for your dedication.
Ms. Henley?
I look at all of this and I get confused because we're talking about monies from different sources. I sort of need to have it a little more simplified so that we're looking at what's the money that is from the city's budget, what's the money from CARES Act, what's the money from each of these sources, so that we can see, because I really think the CARES Act money and probably the ARP money too needs to go much more specifically to things that are a result of the pandemic. And it's not over. And I know the schools are having a terrible time right now with staffing and so forth. So I'm a little bit nervous about committing the money while we're having such difficulty right now because we're not done with it. So just in the next couple of weeks, I'll just have more specific questions, but I'm really looking at the difficulty now of staffing, having the teachers there for the kids. We don't know where this is going, even over the next month. And I just think we've really got to look at this pretty closely. So I think what you've given us is maybe where you see it today, but by the time we come to a vote, things could change, couldn't they? I mean, I'm really worried about the message we're sending to the schools and the teachers and the parents and so forth. Everybody's still struggling from what I hear, and I think we've got a lot of territory yet to cover to address all of these things. Like I say, especially just getting through the next few weeks with the schools.
So when we met, they did a beautiful job of laying out the CARES Act money and the ARPA money that they have. It's so different than our money. We had a lot more flexibility in spending, and they don't. And there's just like what you said, Ms. Emily, it's dedicated toward the efforts because of the pandemic. But there's quite a bit of money left moving forward, if you could address that.
Well, we do. I mean, right now, we had to do a switch just to do the recruitment and retention that came through, just to get those items out there and present a plan to Virginia Department of Education. So we are constantly monitoring that and working in conjunction with other school systems as they do the same thing that we do. So we don't want to go and spend all of this federal money right off the bat, because we do have to be flexible, because we don't disagree that times are tough and things are changing quick. I mean, our entire instruction, no, I shouldn't say entire, a huge portion of our instructional staff that is in central office are out at schools during the week. They're not in their offices. They're having to go out and be in classrooms in order to cover it and keep our schools open. It's a big push and a big strain on that staff. So we don't disagree that things are changing rapidly, and we're constantly monitoring that. And Dr. Spence and his leadership team are certainly on top of that on a day-to-day basis, over the holidays, over the weekends, monitoring staffing shortage, monitoring absences, keeping track of the COVID absences. I mean, that is like at everybody's forefront. So we agree with you that that is a dynamic environment that continues to change. But we want to be able to keep that federal money that we can use. Like, you just can't use it for bonuses. You can't use it. You can maybe put like some salary in there, but that's a cliff. You've got to think of some investment strategies that where you can figure out how to do this and still compete. We're competing with private sector as well. There's people in private sector that in years past, school divisions didn't have to compete against. Now we do. And it's even on the non-instructional side, where we're competing with our custodial staff, our bus drivers, food services. Those people can make more money when they go outside the school system. We have to be looking at that. Even at our workshop today, there is a whole staffing workshop that our HR department is putting on. So yeah, it's at the forefront of the entire leadership team of the school division of what we need to do and what might be the answer, and I don't think anybody really knows at this point.
It's just that our schools are critical, and we need to really be able to address whatever is coming, and
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just don't think we know right now, and I would have a hard time. Another off the wall, probably too simplistic. All right, the question that was before the courts regarding Gloucester in allocating the money, that was the state.
State sales.
Are we in compliance?
We
We're
are.
allocating that money
We
for
are.
new construction and not to pay off old debt?
Yeah, we are. I just saw that the other day.
I didn't know how you were keeping track of
Yeah,
that.
I just saw that the other day, so we are looking into all of that, yes.
Okay, just so we learn from their mistake.
yes,
If we're
ma'am.
making the same one, we need to clean it up.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you, but I just need more understanding. Thank you.
Please reach out anytime.
Uh-huh.
Can I have one more question, please? So I walked away on, I just want to stick, the federal money, I think all that you got to keep, and you got to, just like we do. I'm back and have always been on the $54.9 million, because that's the city's money, not entitlement to the school. It's the public's money. It's not even the city's money. It's the taxpayers' money. They're the ones who earned it. So that's 54.9. So if you take off 10.1 of that is the state money, 10.114 and some change, that definitely ought to go your way, because that's the intent of the Commonwealth, and we ought to honor that. That leaves you with 44.8. You got 9 and some 4 and some trustee accounts. So you're basically about 42 million and some change that's really in play. That's my version. And you probably are under executing this year, I suspect, on payroll, whatnot, 30 million bucks. That's just an estimate, but I know you all can annualize that and figure that out, and I've asked that question of the staff to get that answer. So let's just say that's $70 million on the plate when we're thinking about this. So we've got an allocation of how you would think the school board thinks they should spend that $40 million that I'm talking about. But yet, we are acknowledging that we have some real, Ms. Henley's point, some real structural labor cost issues without knowing the answer. Since some of these things came from recurring sources, which they do, not all, but some do, it would seem to me wise that we would want to know and self-help ourselves with the money that revenue streams that we have, and not consuming them and holding them off and using those for the rainy day to what is the solution. Because like I said, at 3.9% unemployment, you can spend a lot of money, but the whole economy could raise wages, doesn't make workers show up. I mean, so there is a limit of where you can go with cost of labor and have a result. But if you think you're going to do there, I would think that we collectively on the city and school side both would want to be preserving our liquidity, if you use that word, to deal with those issues, because it's the face in the building, not the building that delivers instruction. So if you had a pressure between capitalization and delivering service, the building can't deliver service. Only a teacher in the classroom can deliver service. And I know you're using admin people in the schools, and I've heard talk to them, so I applaud you for that self-help. Because I think you're recognizing if you offered more money, it isn't going to make a face show up. So I'm just thinking we're getting ahead on our obligations of money, and that includes even giving money back to taxpayers, and I've had that conversation as well, before we have a more granular picture on inflation and what that means we have to pay the people that we already have. And we're going to end up then coming back and saying we spent our money, but now I got to raise taxes to fill in the gap. And that's what I think the public is asking us, is to be prudent and, not get ahead of our skis. So my criticism isn't about what you've presented. It's about, I think, the ambiguity and uncertainty doesn't warrant making these kind of firm commitments with the amount of uncertainty that we have, especially about taking care of the people. And that usually always costs a lot of money. About 10,000 employees, I think, probably 7,000 teachers. I'm just guessing in that ballpark. Give 5,000 a raise each, all of them talking real money, right? So I think so I always say in the Navy is mission first, but people always. But in our case, like in the military, you can't deliver the mission without the people. And I'm concerned we haven't solved the people issue, but we're spending the money that we might need. Thank you, Pat.
Anybody else?
Just one quick
Yes, Mr. Branch.
Are there any time constraints on having to spend that federal money?
There are. On that one slide, we do have time constraints. Each one's like over a 3-year, graduating period of time.
Thank you so much.
So I really want to thank you. Y'all, you did what Mr. Jones and I asked. We said, it's this unprecedented times. Let's get something built. And I think our old friend, Dr. Ed Brickle, used to say, people come here for good schools, not good roads. And our children are our most precious commodity, and they're our future. So it's really important. And people in this city value education, and they love their schools and the teachers and the people that get the work done. So I just want to thank you. And I know some of these buildings need to be rebuilt, and not that it's going to make a better education, but it's just, it really does help. And people come into our city. And I know when our new city manager came in and he drove around our city, he was very impressed with the ones that we had already done. But there's a lot of that are crying out to be done. So hopefully this is going to move that timeline up a little bit more. I will say my Bayside High School is my alma mater. I don't know, I didn't ask them to put that money in there, but I'm very happy to see that it's there as well. Anyway, thank you for doing what Mr. Jones and I asked you to do. And Mr. Jones, did you want to add anything?
Only that I think I appreciate the fact that they have done it. I think it's important that we have the ability to grasp this opportunity to get something done. And we've been struggling with it for years. And when we have the opportunity to do it, we ought to take hold of it and get it done. And so I appreciate the fact that you're moving forward in that way.
And it's been a tough time for schools. And former
May I say
teacher.
one more quick
Yeah.
thing? I don't know is Tony gone?
No, he's still here.
Thank you very much for Princess Anne Middle School, Tony. If that's your last school, you did good.
Listen, Tony had this job when I was on the school board, and that was a really long time ago.
Not
So.
going anywhere. I'm still right around the corner.
All right, well, we'll remember that. We may be calling on you, Tony. So thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
really are, we're very grateful, Council, for what you've done.
Thank you.
Okay,
Or
Mr.
give me your
Manager.
book back. I know you wanted that back.
Vice Mayor, members of council, at this time, Taylor Adams will provide a presentation on the subsea cable landing in Sandbridge.
Shouldn't give them a nickel. Oh. Before he starts, even though I can publicly listen to this I can't comment or vote on it, so I'm just going to excuse myself till it's over.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. So I'm going to start with, excuse me, I'm going to start with a couple of disclosures here regarding the applicants that we have. The first of these pertains to Global Links, which is a provider of data center services that currently exists in our community. I'd like you to read those. Second is from the Kitty Hawk Offshore Wind Project, known to some as the North Carolina Project, the Kitty Hawk Project. In short, this is Avangrid Renewables, and I'll give you all. This is a longer list. I'll give you all a moment to read through those. What we're here to talk about today are only the potential landfall easements associated with these two projects, and so you'll see as we work through these, we're talking. I'm going to show you some maps, but first, looking at Kitty Hawk, there's a request for 2 easements for cable landings on shore. Now, the first, Kitty Hawk North, they're asking that they be able to make landfall on the southern portion of the Sandbridge parking lot, utilizing horizontal drilling to get to this. I'll talk about depth in a moment, but it's important to know we're below 50 feet as we come ashore here, so we're not impacting our guest experience or any of the resident experience on that site. The other is, if needed, to ensure that we're not conflicting with in an abundance of caution, so that we're not conflicting with the Global Link site. There's also a request to look at a similar landing at Little Island. So you can, and I'll back up here and walk you through, so you can see. Here is the parking lot. You see lines coming in north and south, and I'll show you a little more detail on those as we get through. Here is the Sandbridge Market sort of parking lot, as we're calling it. There are up to 4 cables that'll make landfall here. The public impact here, it's important to note that these would be under the pavement. The public impact here is there'd be a manhole to allow access for servicing of these. There's no above ground infrastructure or impact that is contemplated long term here, and then it's likely that we would see 2 cables at Sandbridge, but we're doing everything we can. We recognize that this is the site that offers the lowest impact to the public, so we're focusing on as much density here as we possibly can. But really, we're talking about a broader engineering conversation here that I personally would not be qualified to offer a formal opinion on. You see here, it's important that we're talking about the cables would be crossing the beach. We met at 75 feet. Now, it's important to note they will likely come up some and 75 feet down. I don't know about y'all. I'm not going to dig down there and look. So we're going to say in the neighborhood of 75 feet, recognizing that we're talking about a range. At that point, could be a little more shallow, could be a little deeper, but 75 is the target. Looking at Little Island, it was identified as a secondary site if needed due to resolve a conflict with Global Links. And we could put up to 4 cables there. Now, again, there's been some community conversation on this plan. It's important to note, all we are talking about here today are easements to make landfall. I believe our Public Works Director, L.J. Hansen, is in the room, and so it's important to note, we have utilities contractors routinely do work in our right-of-way. Public Works has processes and procedures that are well documented for how that can work. Before any plan is approved, the various companies here will owe us detailed drawings that LJ's team can review and make determinations on whether on appropriate permitting. And so we are not to that stage yet. All we are talking about here are the locations of potential landfalls. We are not making a commitment on permitting. It's also important to note, because we make an effort to never get ahead of this body, we've not done any real work on what that might look like. And as a result, we've not told any of you what that might look like. And so I have heard just questions from you about what expectation there was around what you all should have been able to communicate to your constituents about this project. It's important to note there was no information for us that we could provide to you because we had not seen it, so there was nothing you could have provided to your constituents. And so it's an important thing to note that we are at the very beginning of this process, and what we are talking about here is simply the landfall. There's been no additional detail that we could provide you that you could have provided to your constituents. In the event that you tell us to move forward with this, obviously we understand that there's public input that's required as we go through the permitting process, just like we do with every case that comes through. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but just to say, Global Links is a provider of basically data services. And their cables that are coming through would be subsea data cables, just like we have landed before and brought to the cable landing station at Sandbridge. These would come to Mr. Greg Twitt, as the primary here, would come to his own landing station. And we anticipate a total investment here of $33 million, taxable investment of $33 million. And to look at his, you can see data cables. The good news with data cables is they're a lot easier than electric utility cables. And so you can see we've got Mr. Twitt's cables projected to come in a very tight pattern, land in that north parking lot. And then obviously, again, there's more permitting that has to come in on the back of those as well. But in the event that you told us to move forward, we're confident that we could bring him in there. Now to the issue of cost. Now you're going to see a fairly broad range here. That's around two things. One, it's around the commercial value of the cables once they're landed, but also there's some precedent around data cables. So we currently have 3 subsea cables that have landed on our shore, and there's a $200,000 lease rate that's associated with those. For the Kitty Hawk, we believe that $945,000 per cable is appropriate for those on the north side, and $275,000 for those at Little Island should they be necessary. Our next steps, if you all are ready for us to bring this back, would be, one, to come back seeking formal approval to land these cables, and then following that, once assuming that you all were agreeable to these landing sites and the lease rates that we proposed, we would begin the remainder of our internal processes to ensure that we went through, that we gave both full public input, but also that LJ's team had the ability to conduct their ongoing review for permitting purposes. And Vice Mayor, with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Yes.
Of course, I ask that you be here today, and I'll preface everything by saying I fully do understand that admonition to not shoot the messenger. And I know that you are just the messenger here. And
thank you, Ms. Henley.
I'm not, please don't take any of this personally.
No, ma'am, I'm ready.
Sorry, but
you
get to get the problem here is a problem that, I fuss about on a lot of other things, is doing things piecemeal. We're asked to look at this project in a very piecemeal fashion. Right now, it's saying all we want to do is talk about the landfall. Well, that's okay, but that landfall, if you're going to landfall there, how are you going to, what's your route to get it to where it's going to be usable? That's where the rub is.
Yes, ma'am.
And if we say okay to the landfall, then somebody can certainly assume that we're okay with the rest of it. And that's the problem. They're not telling. I think Dominion Energy, and I guess, we've had the experience in working through with them, all along they have said, they have talked about the transmission routes along with the landfall. And the problem with this one is they're talking about a landfall, but hey, what's really going to be the rub are the transmission routes. And how can we say we're okay with the landfall until we know what the rest of it's going to be. That's the problem, and that's where we're not able to really go out there and be truly honest to the people who are going to be impacted by that route. And
Yes.
that's the dilemma.
Yes, ma'am, I understand everything that you're saying, and that is, one, thank you for the feedback. It's important to note that we've been clear with the developer every step of the way that landfall does not guarantee them a route through our right-of-way. And this goes back to our initial action when we granted them a franchise agreement to begin this conversation. At no point have we represented that they could absolutely have whatever they wanted. And it's important to note this is, and LJ, jump up and tell me if I'm wrong with any of this, but we have utilities providers that want to do things in our right-of-way that we don't always allow. And so it's important to note there's nothing in this landfall that compels us or that compels LJ's team to make a permitting decision that they would not make otherwise. And LJ, tell me if that's right. Come on up if you would.
That's correct, Ms. Henley, and I wholeheartedly agree with your comments about making a decision on the one has a direct ramification on the other. I think where we are, and you might have to correct me, Taylor, is where we are is we wanted to make sure that we were giving them the best advice about where they could come aground. That has been a huge challenge given the constraints of the limited number of landing spots, the number of possible conflicts, the conversation about what the lease rates would be, all of those other elements. And I think before we jumped off and got too far down the road, I think that the conversation and the reason we're here today is to have that conversation about, is this acceptable? Is this a good idea for them to come around here? Totally agree with you about making sure that we know what comes next, what that route looks like, whether it's underground, above ground, if that's going to cause some traffic impacts. I know you have specific concerns as it relates to the route from Little Island to the market. And we're with you, and we totally understand that. But I think before we can have that conversation with them, one, it's good to get feedback from City Council to know what your concerns are, and two, are you comfortable with where it's coming aground? Is that the right source for us to kick off the next part of the conversation? But Taylor and my staff have been all very clear through this whole thing. Just because we're having this conversation about where you can come aground, I mean, just getting here though has been a real challenge. We've had a number of offshore concerns. How deep does it have to come in? What are the impacts to the beach? What are the impacts to the community? So I think that's why we're here today. And yes, ma'am, it's not piecemealing as far as we're going to piecemeal it along until you're on the hook. It's really more a matter of piecemeal, like we've done this little step. Are you okay with this before we start going down the road?
Well, of course, they've been talking about it for a couple of years. I think it was it was just before the pandemic that I had the first news from them that, they wanted to do this project and come ashore at Sandbridge. And then we hit the pandemic, and then, anyway, it's been a long ride.
Yes,
but,
ma'am.
I think we should be fair to them and say, well, where you come ashore, it's pretty obvious that you're going to have some problems getting to where you need to go. I mean, we were just talking about the Sandbridge market. That was bad enough because you could just look at it and say, okay, they're going to plan to go down the Nemo Parkway right away, which is right through a lot of neighborhoods, to say nothing of a Bald Cypress Swamp. And that's going to be problematic. But then a couple months ago, they came up with this Little Island thing. And, that really does compound things because then you've got to come all the way through Sandbridge. And there's not much room in there. And
That's
I
right.
think we should say coming ashore is easy compared to where you're going to go next. And I just don't see the answer here.
Oh, and Ms. Henley, please know, and to LJ's point, we have been very clear about the fact that there's a whole lot of meat left on this bone between landing and actually having a working solution here. I mean, both, and I do want to commend our Public Works team, as well as I see Isan Moak is here from my team, who's represented us on this project. We've been clear every step of the way that one, to LJ's point, one step does not guarantee another. But what he said is exactly right. given how big these projects are and given the potential impacts, we in no way wanted to get ahead of you all. We wanted to make sure that you and the public knew what was coming every step of the way before we took the next step. And so, so we do, and so two things on this. One, we do feel that at minimum, the Sandbridge market easements are ripe for your consideration. We would love to bring this entire package forward together for review. But if you tell us there's more work for us to do on Little Island, or if you were to say to us that you're comfortable with Little Island so long as LJ's team can put a plan together that is acceptable to his team and doesn't overly impact the residents there, we would love to keep working on this, particularly on the Global Links piece. This is he has clients that he's trying to secure, and it's important to note that the total impact on the Global Links piece is a manhole in the parking lot that'll be constructed off season, and so we would like to bring those back to you for consideration, even if that means that we've got a little work to do on some of the other parts.
Well, we still are looking at the permitting for NEMO 7B.
7B, yes, ma'am.
And that's not permitted, and that's going to be hard enough to get with just the road. But if we're going to compound that with this, whatever it would take to put this in through that same right-of-way, I can't see us getting it permitted.
And
I mean, you know.
On this one, Ms. Henley, I would have to just admit that I'm not an expert in that part of our operation either. I'd have to turn it back over to LJ for him to talk about what was possible there. But I really don't know the intricacies of what would be involved there.
Yes, ma'am. And with regard to that, whatever avenue that they pursue, they would pursue independent of any project that we would be pursuing. So any application that we would make for the construction of NEMO 7B would be made outside of any application that they're making for their own avenue. And in honesty, we would have to have a conversation with them to discuss schedule, whether they're ahead of us or behind us. But the applications would be made independent to the Corps. All work would be done independent. I think there would be an effort on our part to make sure that we didn't construct our road and then have them come behind us and tear it up. That would be a huge component. And likewise, anything that they did, we would ensure that it met with our standards for our design to make sure that it wasn't going to be a hindrance to us to be able to construct our road. Making sure that where we have bridge abutments, for instance, they're not going to be in the way of our bridge abutments or anything like that. So if they're ahead of us, we're going to partner with them to make sure that we know where they are. If they're behind us, we're going to make sure that they're not tearing up our stuff. And in any event, whatever they do from a JPA standpoint, they'll do independent of what we do.
Well, I know the Virginia Power folks have just been out there for the past couple of years meeting with, of course, they had 6 possible alignments, and they have met with the neighbors individually, collectively, however they wanted to meet. I don't think these people have been open with the neighborhoods that they're going to be impacting. And, I mean, if we only are talking about the market, we're looking at getting from the market, which is, you know, not going to impact Sandbridge very much, but it's going to be a heck of an impact on Lagomar and Red Mill and those neighborhoods to get from there to Corporate Landing. Everything from there to Corporate Landing. And we don't have areas in there. We're going through a lot of neighborhoods there, and I think they need to be told that, hey, this is out there, because, I mean, Virginia Power was so good about being very open with all of their possible alignments. Plus, these folks are only coming up with one, don't they? Have to come up with several?
And thank you for that question. So it is important to note that the team at Avangrid, they have looked at multiple routes. There's an important distinction between, from a sequencing standpoint, though, where we are with Avangrid as opposed to where we are with the Dominion Energy project. Dominion has been operating with a known landing spot from the beginning. They were fortunate enough to get the last Pendleton landing spot. And so because they were able to secure that spot, they've been able to, I think they've been able to move a little faster with the onshore work because they've known exactly where they were coming to shore. With Avangrid, we're just now getting to the point, and of course, and it's important for the public to know, they went through the landing process with the Navy, not with us. And so this is the first time we've also landed energy cables like this. And so a lot of this is, we are just now at the place, assuming you all were to tell us to move forward, where we would anticipate that Avangrid would begin that same type of robust public input that you saw from Dominion Energy. Now, neither LJ nor I can speak to what a private entity will do, but they have heard loud and clear from both of us that whatever comes out of this, that needs to be their next step, that there needs to be robust public input where they gather the opinions of neighbors, where they talk to all of the residents that are impacted by this project. And so my team at least will absolutely hold the line on that, and I know LJ's will as well.
Well, market is one thing. I just can't see Little Island at all. I mean, that's a long way to come all the way through that community, and I don't see any right-of-way in there that's possible.
So,
But anyway.
So if you'll allow us, and I mean, if we can move forward with those northern spots and then continue our due diligence on the southern, recognizing we're not committing, but basically that if you're telling us the next piece is you need to see a path that LJ's team would permit, I mean, I think we would take that as a reasonable next step and go to work. And so, and that's not committing you to anything at Little Island. It's just telling us to continue our due diligence and to come back with drawings from the team at Avangrid that LJ's team would permit, and then that way we know what we're dealing with.
Well, I think we really have to tell them to be up front and let us know,
Yes, ma'am.
and be up front with each of these communities, because the way they're going about it is not the way to do it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And it's just putting us in a totally untenable situation, because, I mean, we just got to have them be up front.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Branch?
Taylor, I'd just like to know if, while you're doing all this, if you can see if there are any other options other than that Little Island.
Yes, sir. We'll give it a look.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Great
Vice
job.
Mayor.
Vice Mayor, members of council, at this time, David Yarman from the Public Works Department will give an update on the I-264 Independence Boulevard Interchange Improvements Project.
All right, good afternoon, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, City Manager Dehaney. Appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you today about the Independence Boulevard I-264 interchange. I want to just take a moment and recognize some of the technical members on our team as we walk through this study. We're going to go through this here in just a second. Rick Lohman, City Traffic Engineer. John Hendrickson, he's the Vice President, the Senior Director of Transportation with WSP here in Virginia Beach. Kristen Belfield is the Supervising Transportation Engineer with WSP in Virginia Beach. WSP was the author and creator of the document. Ray Hunt is with us with Vdot. He's the Transportation Planner for the Hampton Roads District. Ray has been our liaison with Vdot and helping to coordinate this and deal with comments on the Vdot side. So that's the technical side. I'm going to be the mouthpiece tonight for the presentation. So I want to start off and just tell you the purpose of our presentation today is really it's informational. So everybody's shoulders hopefully can come down just a little bit and relax. Our goal is really there's been a lot of talk about infrastructure funding and what's happening with bills and sort. And so this project, what we want to bring forward to council, the big picture tonight is this project is not imminent, but it is coming up on the horizon. And so like we do with a lot of our projects, we want to start positioning ourselves for funding, for design, and ultimately construction. So as we look forward, that's what we want to be thinking about. And of course, if you think about HR TAC funding, a lot of the big mega projects are either in design or in construction right now. So HR TAC, they're kind of pivoting to what's the next group of projects. And lo and behold, Independence and 264 is one of those projects. So we just want to make sure that we're doing our part to position it and look forward in the future and be prepared for that. So with that, we'll move forward. We have a very concise agenda. We'll move through that rather quickly tonight. And first off, I wanted to start off with explaining what's the STARS program. This is the STARS study. We're going to go through that. You can see the acronym there. Some of the key things is it's targeted affordable solutions. The idea here is that a lot of times we have these big mega projects that just take decades to get funding for and to build. In the meantime, there could be some smaller improvements that might provide a lot of benefit now or in the very near future. That's what this program is designed for, and this is what the study kind of revolves around. So focuses on safety and congestion and innovative designs, and the city contributed some funding to that as well to help move this along. So the study area you can see there is Independence Boulevard from Virginia Beach Boulevard south to the split at Holland and Independence. A little less than 2 miles. When you think about the corridor studies, we want to just kind of highlight this. There's been a lot of studying done on I-264. It's obviously a very busy interstate section. And so when we look at that, there's been several studies. One of the biggest ones is Vdot did the corridor study, finished that in 2016. We finished the STAR study, which we're going to talk about tonight, in 2020. Vdot just completed the IMR for I-64 and 264 last year. And then we'll talk about this next step is what we're going to look at going forward with the Interchange Access Report. And that's basically the updated version of the IMR. So we'll talk about that and how it relates to what we're doing in a few moments. So with the STARS project, we wanted to look at 3 long-term alternatives. When we say long-term, that's looking about 20 years down the road. Beyond that is when we would hope and expect that Vdot would have a funding mechanism in place, hopefully have maybe projects proposed to widen 264 and replace the bridge there on Independence. In the meantime, our assumption for what we're doing is that we're not going to be replacing bridges, we're not going to be adding lanes on 264, part of the affordable option there. So with that, you'll notice there's five kind of the cross streets listed there, and they're listed kind of in geographical order north to south. And so what we looked at with the 3 alternatives is that there were several alternatives, several options that were common amongst all 3 alternatives. So I want to talk about those first, and then we'll set those aside and focus on the main differences between the 3 options that were reviewed. So the first one's Columbus Street. As we look at Columbus Street, one of the big issues there is the pedestrian crossing. And so our plan here, our interim plan, is to provide a simple crosswalk there. This is a safety improvement for pedestrians to cross. We're going to take one of the dual left turn lanes and convert that to a pedestrian refuge, so there's a safe area to cross through there. And you'll notice too that this is in conjunction with, you think about Wegmans and Walmart's down there, so there's been a lot of need for pedestrian movement down there. I'll speak a little bit more to that in just a second. The long-term improvement is a grade-separated crossing there from the parking deck near Columbus across Independence with a switchback ramp to get down to grade. Now, as part of these short-term improvements, some of these smaller pieces, our grant funding program, our grant funding group led by Katie Shannon, has gone out and managed to secure a TAP grant for the smaller pedestrian crossing, which is a huge benefit because we have this big puzzle of this mega project, and our goal is to kind of peck away at this. You know, how do we eat elephant one bite at a time? Well, this is one of the bites here, is taking a pedestrian crossing and being able to do that with city force or city contract. So that's TAP funded. We're looking to start construction later this year. So another bookend to that was common, project that was common across all the alternatives was down at Edwin Drive. So we'll look at that real quick. So the project at Edwin Drive counted for median U-turns, and if you think about that, this is what we did at Indian River Kimsel on the Indian River leg of the roadway. Essentially, we eliminate the turning movements and we push those away from the intersection to improve safety and improve efficiency of the intersection. And again, this was another project that we secured Smart Scale Round 4 funds. You may recognize that slide from last year's budget presentation. We received almost $10 million in Smart Scale funds for the total project cost, about $14.5 million. So again, another piece of the puzzle that we've managed to kind of pull away from the overall project. So now we're going to look at the big 3 alternatives there. We want to focus on that and talk about some of the differences between these. And the at-grade improvements are the ones that we've talked about. So again, we'll set those aside and we'll focus on the interchange. I'm going to try to look at the pictures more because these speak better to what's going on. So we're going to look at kind of the north side of the interchange. We'll look at that in a little more detail. So we're going to start that off with looking at some of the differences. And here we've added the median U-turns again at Euclid Road in Independence. And you'll notice here the idea is the turning movements move away from the intersection. So if you want to make a left on the Euclid, you're going to go north, make a U-turn. I'm sorry. Yeah, if you want to make a left here, you're going to go through the intersection, come back, and then make a right, so you avoid making a left there. If you want to come here and make a left onto side street there, you're going to come down Euclid, make a U-turn, and then come across. So it's probably not going to be preferred. People may have a little issue with that, but again, this is just one option that we looked at as an interim kind of alternative there. For some of the other improvements with alternative one included a collector distributor lane. Again, that would reduce or eliminate some of the weaving movements that are problematic out there. We would also have a new signal at the ramp termini up here, new signal there. We would also remove some of the loops here. You can see the grassed area that would be the previous ramps that were there. We would remove those and put in some different ramp movements to eliminate some of the weaving. And on the southern side, the improvements we would make would also be, again, looking at the median U-turn. So instead of making a left at the intersection at Baxter, you would go through the intersection, make a U-turn, come back and make a right. If you wanted to make a left on the South Boulevard, you would make a right on Baxter, make a U-turn, come back and go through. Another improvement was adding a slip lane ramp on Southern Boulevard. So this would be the ramp, and instead of Baxter traffic having to come up and get on the ramp, they would be able to come simply up here and slide in kind of in the back way to get on the on-ramp. Again, just some options with the first alternative. These are fairly simple options. They're less expensive, less right-of-way. They don't really meet our long-term demand. They don't work as well when we have accidents, so that's part of the drawback to alternative one. So we'll kind of move into alternative two right now. Again, the big picture here is this is where we start getting into structure and bridge. We have a grade separation here, and we call this a center turn overpass. So I'll kind of move into that so you can see. The light gray in the map is bridge structure. This area right here is all elevated. It's either bridge or approach. Zoom in just a little bit. So the main idea here is that we separate the through movements and the turning movements. So in this case, the through movements will operate down below on Independence. The turning movements will come up on the bridge and will make the turn up here on an elevated structure. And so just to kind of give you a better idea, that's a concept rendering that's available. You can kind of see what that looks like. And so again, the through movements, it's a two-phase intersection now, and all the turning movements are up top. So it's different. It's definitely different. One of the concerns we have is how do you build this? Because you can imagine you're building a bridge in the middle of Independence Boulevard. So what's going to happen to the traffic? Yeah, that's one big concern we have. So we're going to take a look at that with some of our other options. So on the south side, when we look at that, again, we're going to modify the ramp, eliminating a ramp to reduce some of the weave movement, and then the collector distributor lane, and also signal controlled with a triple right turn there coming off the interstate. And then also, again, that Southern Boulevard ramp there, we feel like that's definitely shown up as a really good alternative in option two. So as we look ahead, obviously this works better than alternative one. It meets more of the long-term demand. The costs are higher, and obviously the concerns about can we build this and can we stomach the pain during construction. So those are big questions to answer. Alternative three, this is kind of the opposite of alternative two. It's called a single-point urban interchange, a SPUI. And so when you look at this, it's basically, again, the light gray is bridge. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. It's basically taking the through movements and putting them on the bridge and putting the turning movements down below. So it's kind of the opposite of alternative two. A good example on the left, this is just kind of like a general urban interchange for that SPUI, a good example. The one option on the right shows you more of a local example at Military Highway and Virginia Beach Boulevard. If you've been over that, the turning movements happen on the boulevard. Military Highway, you just keep going through in that movement. So on the southern side, it's a little bit different here. We'll zoom in a little bit so you can see South Boulevard's relocated at this point. We've added a ramp from Baxter. You can get directly on a ramp to I-264 with this new flyover. And again, we have the southbound collector distributor lane that's in there to help reduce the weaving movement. So as you might guess, option three is certainly more expensive, but it does provide the most safety. It deals with more of the long-term demand, and it's better when we have accidents to deal with that. Obviously, there's more right-of-way takes, and the construction impact, like we talked about with option two, is still an issue. So we wanted to kind of roll all those options together and compare those. And when we throw all the options in there that I mentioned and a few more, our preferred alternative to the center turn overpass is the one that really rises to the top right now. So what I want to show you is when we flush those out, that's great, but we also need to be thinking about long-term. And this is, I don't want anybody to look at this and think this is the improvement. This is one option of the long-term improvements. This was from the 2016 study that Vdot did. So what we need to be thinking about is how these alternatives that we propose dovetail with what's happening here. And so we need to make sure that we're being smart. We don't want throwaway costs. We want to give the most bang for the buck, but we don't want to be foolish with the funds that we have. And so just to compare those, just so you can see, there's the STARS alternatives listed there, the first three, and their costs. And then there's the ultimate improvement there with the I-264 study. So if you can say $208 million is affordable, that would be the affordable part of the STARS acronym there. But you can see that cost relative to the overall improvement. So it is a fraction of what would be spent for the overall improvement. So our next step in this is called the Interchange Access Report. It was formerly the Interstate Modification Report, Interchange Modification Report, sorry. It's just a different acronym now that VDOT's using. But the idea is we take all those studies that we saw in the first part of the presentation, and we're gonna mesh all those together and take a look at those with modeling and confirm, do we have the right improvement? Are we looking at the best long-term improvement? What's going to happen during construction? So all these factors are going to play out and be rolled into that report. And again, that report generally takes 18 to 24 months. This will probably take the latter of that time frame. So we're looking at probably spring of 2024 before we have that ready and have some more answers there. One of the big milestone markers for this project is the long-range transportation plan. As most of you know, that's the 20-year outlook horizon for the region. And one of the great things I can report is that this project was included in the the 2045 long-range plan that was done in June of this past year in 2021. So that's a real feather in the cap for the project and the city, because that gets us in line for the next step, which would be funding. And so you got to be in the long-range plan before you can get funding in the SIP. So that's an important step for us. So that's great news. And then finally, just talking about funding, our strategy, like it's been on a lot of projects we've had with Lesnar and other projects in the past, is to kind of start securing seed monies so we can start preliminary design, we can start answering some of these questions with some of the studies. And again, like I mentioned, with the mega projects kind of being funded or being planned, what's left is the next round, and we're in the next round. So we're going to continue to coordinate with our HR tax staff and continue to monitor other funding opportunities that may come available, whether it's the infrastructure bill or Build Back Better, whatever comes out of that. And then finally, it is important for us coordinating with VDOT. We had Ray here tonight with us, just to reiterate that. These interchange improvements will be important going forward, and we need to make sure, again, what we do dovetails with what VDOT has proposed. And so even though it's still preliminary and it's not imminent, it's down the road, but we need to be smart about our coordination efforts, and our funding and grant applications all need to reflect that. So with that, I'll take any questions.
First of all, I applaud your forward looking, but I want to come back to the doing away with one of the left turn lanes, because I know we haven't yet funded all of Cleveland Street, yet opening that up 4-lane the whole way, but that's the intent, going to Witch Duck, and then you can get over and get to the flyover to get to Newtown Road.
Right.
So I'm wondering, did you take into consideration the length does the length of the remaining lane have to be increased to provide the stack? And I only mention that because already I can see the stack at Genie Street that goes on Independence, that goes to Genie, makes a left, and people go down to go up Constitution.
Correct.
That lane is quickly backing up, and then keeping that left lane, which is supposed to be a through lane, doesn't work. So I'm curious, if you look at when all that's connected and you go all the way to the Greenwich flyover, that's a huge induction or an incentive for increased flow. So is the remaining left turn lane going to be sufficient storage so as not to back up traffic in that through left lane?
Right. I'm looking at Rick, and Rick said, yeah, when we looked at that, the answer is yes, we feel like that one left turn will be enough, and certainly, we're going to make sure we continue to model that and follow it and make sure.
When the time comes before we actually make that decision, it would be great, not tonight, but to look to those numbers, because
Sure.
Because that just seems to not match intuition isn't always correct, but
Sure.
it doesn't match up with my experience.
Councilman, are you talking about the northbound
When
traffic
northbound, with the
making
two
a-
left turn lanes that go into,
The lane that they're proposing to eliminate is for the southbound turning east onto Columbus.
so it's not the lane I'm speaking of.
I think it's
Okay,
the
I'm-
opposite direction
Okay,
from what you're speaking of.
when he was talking, I thought it was that one. I said, man, I know what that's like already.
Yeah, I apologize, sorry.
Okay, well, that's good. That's
Okay.
excellent.
All right.
The other piece I just mentioned, as you probably know, over this time frame, which is long, and this is an issue the General Assembly has to deal with, is the structural revenue from gas as the percentage of cars that are not gasoline, that are EV. So that's a structural issue we got to deal with in terms of that out-year funding, because those other projects' debt is still being
Sure.
paid off. So that's something that we'll need to be mindful with our General Assembly. And also at the federal level, as you probably already know, that trust fund is supplemented to the tunes of, tens of billions of dollars of every year, and that's not a good picture looking forward, because Medicare goes runs out of its surplus in 2024 now. And so these are all pressures at the federal level, and interest rates to boot will drive that. So I just think I like let's do a little piece at a time, because I think that's probably the only way that we're going to be able to do that. And I assume you're modeling this with the other improvements further downstream
Yes.
that are being made. So you'll be able to tell us at a future date what the capacity of that interchange will be, and hopefully we're not going from level F to level F, but maybe we are, and that really is a gain, because it would be level triple Z if we didn't do it. But
Right,
it would
right.
would be nice to know, as we are making other decisions for intensive development in that Pembroke area, just what is the capacity that we have. That's one of our residents always, talk to us about. Hey, we make these big investments and then we zone away and we have the same level of congestion and no improvement.
Sure.
Because there will be increased pressure to take those Pembroke apartments that are on Genie Street and between Broad Street, that have been there since the 60s, to redevelop that at some point. And this is long after I'm probably not here, but maybe you might not either, but we have to think long-term, because these are
Sure.
big projects. We just need to know what is the capacity we're consuming as we are making these incremental decisions, so we know when we have to stop. And that's really for the benefit of the future, but that's the only way we're going to get better.
Sure.
But I do like your whole approach. I think this is the heavy lifting that no one ever sees. But, Rome wasn't built in a day, but look how long that stuff lasted once they built it.
Sure.
So I do appreciate all your heavy lifting.
Sure.
Mr. Ralph?
Thank you. In your study in this survey, are you all including bike lanes? And that's very important to our community, as well as ensuring the safe traveling through with our bikers, those who ride bikes. I ride bikes, and
Sure.
getting through there now is, like rolling a dice.
Right. I
So
think-
I'm
yeah.
interested, is that part of the survey, making?
In the places where we can, we look at those. That's part of the bike plan for the city. We certainly look at that with any project. I'm trying to think. I don't know, Rick. Do you know if there were any proposed? Yeah, I don't know that there were with the traffic volumes here. I don't know if they were proposed and some of the constraints, but that's something we can certainly put down and look at.
Absolutely.
Where it might be applicable.
Thank you.
We can
As
certainly
we
check
push
that.
to be more environmental friendly, and
Sure.
riding bikes is an option as well. I know I travel quite often through the military highway and the Virginia Beach Boulevard example that you showed us earlier, and there aren't any bike lanes in that area either. In this, but many people ride bikes. I see them all the time
Yeah.
in that area and throughout our city. So
Yes, sir.
I was hoping if we can make sure we include that.
Okay, we'll take a look.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you,
All
excellent
right.
presentation.
Thank you.
Before we start this next one, Deputy City Clerk Terry Julius had something she wanted to.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. To ensure this live electronic portion of this briefing is successful, please note the following meeting instructions must be followed. Speakers, presenters, please mute any additional devices you have in the room to avoid any unnecessary background noise or the possibility of echoing. It is important that once recognized, please wait 2 to 3 seconds to begin speaking to ensure council hears your complete remarks. Please begin your comments by identifying yourself. Also, do not ask if you can hear me, as only 1 feed is open at a time to minimize echoing, and as such, you will be unable to be heard. At the conclusion of the presentation, the Vice Mayor will open the floor to questions, comments. It is helpful for council members to ask all questions and end by stating you will stand by for answers. This will help to ensure all questions are answered before moving on to the next council member. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Yes.
I was just going to say that Mr. Boynton was unable to be physically present with us today, but is going to begin the briefing by WebEx, and I appreciate how much more difficult that can be, but I appreciate your indulgence in allowing us to do it that way.
Thank you, Mr. Stiles.
And Vice Mayor, members of council, as Mark Stiles mentioned, the presentation will start off with Chris Boynton from his office, and then after that, Donna Patterson, the voter registrar, would start a presentation in person, followed by Tiffany Russell, the interim communications director, who will provide update to council on our proposed communications plan that we're looking for council's feedback and guidance on before we move forward with communicating with the public on the electoral system changes.
Chris, you can begin speaking.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council. It's a pleasure to be here remotely today. My responsibility is a table setting one to kind of explain how we got to this point in terms of the city's election system for electing city council members and school board members. And so with that, I will start by referencing the case that I know city council is very familiar with, but the public maybe less so. That's the Latasha Holloway versus City of Virginia Beach case that's been winding its way through the U.S. District Court and now the Fourth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals since 2017. Very simply, the changes to our election system are twofold that we're talking about today. First of all, we're talking about the system itself changing by virtue of a federal court ruling in the Holloway matter, but then also we are talking about the decennial redistricting that occurs by virtue of having a 2020 census reallocate population within our city. So first, with respect to the Holloway case, the district court for the Eastern District of Virginia ruled back in March of 2021 that the historical system for electing city council members violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and enjoined the use of that system. There is a second phase in the district court called the remedial phase that the city's been going through that phase between March and December of this year. And we just, right before Christmas, I believe it was December 22nd, received the final remedial plan from the court, the district court, that imposed a slightly modified special master plan that imposes a 10-district ward system upon the city, whereas heretofore we had had a 7-4 hybrid system whereby 7 members of city council must live in a certain residence district, but can be voted on by everyone in the city. And the other 3 members of council plus your mayor may be voted on and live anywhere in the city and be voted on by everyone in the city. The city attorney's office and GIS and other city departments are working diligently with the registrar to implement the district court's imposition of the special master 10-district system. And at the same time, you, the city council, authorized us and directed us to appeal the liability finding to the U.S. Court of Appeals Fourth Circuit back in April 2021 when the district court issued its liability opinion. That appeal was paused by the appellate court pending the remedy phase. Now that the remedy phase has been completed by the district court, that appeal is moving forward pretty aggressively. the city owes to the court an amended opening brief this Friday, January 14th. The plaintiff's response brief has been directed by the court to be filed by February 7th. And just within a couple of days ago, we received notice from the Fourth Circuit that they anticipate our oral argument will occur in March 8th through 11th of this year, 2022. We still don't know the timing of a ruling, but that March argument date sets up the possibility for a court ruling later in March or in April. Largely, the purpose of implementing a 10-1 system is to create minority opportunity districts for the city. The special masters mapping did that by creating majority minority districts using 2020 census data. So this does not need to be adjusted further for purposes of incorporating the 2020 census. The 10 district system that the court has imposed has 3 majority minority districts in it, districts 4, 7, and 10. And you will see that the level of minority populations, and this is all minorities, whether it be Black, Hispanic, Asian, or other minority groups. District 7 has 55.4 minority representation. District 10 has 58.5, and District 4 has a 58.8 voting age population. That's what VAP means. That is, as you'll see on the slide you're looking at, for every 46,000 of actual residents in the average district under this plan, about 36,000 of them are of voting age. And this is based on U.S. Census data from the most recent census. You will see that the special master and the court order imposing the special master's work allocated an election cycle to each of the districts that it created. With respect to city council, the special master made great pains to harmonize those districts with the existing residence locations of our incumbent council members, as well as the dates for their election cycle. You will see, for example, District 2, which is largely what you would think of as the old Princess Anne district, is on a 2022 cycle, and Ms. Henley happens to also be on a 2022 cycle. What that means going forward is that we will have an election under this system unless it is undone by the appellate courts. Prior to that, and the election would be for districts 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10. And you will recall that you appointed Mr. Holcomb to serve out the interim vacancy of Ms. Abbott when she resigned. So he will be subject to a special election in November 2022, but that seat is a 2024 seat. So whoever prevails in that election, that special election, will have to run 2 years later. The remainder of you are all on your current election cycle. And you'll note again that districts 4, 7, and 10 are our minority opportunity districts under the special master plan adopted by the federal district court. Turning your attention to the school board districts, this is where things get pretty complicated. I can't tell you, and I don't profess to have all of the answers sitting here today with respect to our school board elections. Importantly, for the public's knowledge, the district court did not take jurisdiction or involve the school board in its case. The ruling that we are implementing at the city council level has no direct legal applicability to our school board. There is what I would call inferential applicability by virtue of the city charter, which says essentially that our school board shall be elected in the manner and on the terms that our city council is. There is one notable exception in that process, however. We directly elect our mayor by the public. However, the school board internally elects its chair every 2 years. So there is essentially an extra at-large district left by virtue of trying to impose the new city council system on the school. What that sets up is several incumbents being paired in districts on different election cycles. My understanding is that the school board has retained outside legal counsel to assist it in digesting the impact of the federal court ruling on its elections, and has also engaged members of the Virginia Beach General Assembly delegation to address whatever open questions may exist as to the school board elections. I would point out that because our mayor is the 11th seat in the school board, and that's a 2024 election cycle, the default position of the school board is that there would be one at-large district that would be up for election in 2024 to mirror that mayor's spot. With that in mind, where we are is separate and apart from the federal court ruling. There is a new state law process created by the General Assembly, signed by the governor, that requires there to be state law preclearance. We believe that yields to a federal court order. However, we are working through that process with the Office of the Attorney General to hopefully issue a letter of preclearance. As we sit here today, have that preclearance authorized. As a matter of state law also, school board and city council petitions may be circulated and filed with the voter registrar starting last Monday, January 3rd. My understanding, and she's going to speak next to you, is that the voter registrar is receiving the petitions and the signatures that are being circulated, but is not processing them yet until she gets further direction from the State Board of Elections. I would point out to you and to anybody interested in running for city council in November 2022 that by virtue of the imposition of this new ward district system, the signatures to be placed on the ballot for November 2022 must be from voters who reside in the district and are otherwise qualified to vote for the district seat that the candidate is running from. And with that, I will hand the dais over and be available to questions both now and at the end of the overall presentation. Thank you very much for your time, and I hand it over to the capable hands of our voter registrar, Donna Patterson. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity to talk about this a little further. Mr. Boynton actually probably gave you more details than I can ever give you on this matter. But one of the things he did mention was about the candidates could begin filing paperwork and petitions as of January 3rd. That is happening in our office right now. What we are doing is date and time stamping everything that comes into our office. We are not able to verify the signatures yet until we finish working with the state to get the state system. So we're just making sure that everything has been date and time stamped. We're following the normal bulletins that the Department of Elections has available in January of every year. So we have, again, started getting information in our office. It's probably the first time in my years of working in elections, it is the first time where there was, where we had to wait for the process of petition signature verification. But as soon as that is finished, I did get a call from the state right before I came over here. They have a couple of more questions for me. So as soon as that process is finished, we will begin checking signatures on petitions. As Mr. Boynton mentioned, we have the state, so we not only have the change in the system for the city, but we have redistricting as well. So we are getting calls from a lot of people that want to know exactly more about it, what is my polling location and various things like that. So we don't have all that information yet. We are working on it. As soon as everything can be determined, we will actually be contacting voters so that we can give that information. Our normal way of contacting voters is through the voter, we'll mail notifications to all registered voters in a redistricting year to make sure that everyone knows who their representatives are. And that's a letter that has their new polling location on there, and it tells about all of the districts for that citizen. So as soon as that's further down the road before we have that information, though. But that is an important part. We want citizens as well as people interested in running for office to have as much information as possible. So some important dates, January 3rd was already mentioned. Anyone running for office for House of Representatives actually goes through the state. So what we're working with in our office are school board and city council paperwork that comes into our office. So now, after that, an important date for us in our office is we have a primary on June 21st, which is also a deadline for non-primary and independent candidates. So they will have until 7 p.m. to turn in paperwork on the day of the primary. Then November 8th will be election day and throughout the state, and so that will have House of Representatives, City Council, and School Board. But that's where we are right now in our process. Thank you. Thank you. And Tiffany will come up here now.
So while we're waiting for Tiffany to come, I'm just going to, any questions that we have for Chris, we'll have to sort of bundle them and get everybody's questions out and then let him go through them one by one because of the going back and forth with WebEx. But people that are here in person, I don't think we have to do that.
Oh, no. I welcome the engagement. In fact, I'm very honored to be here today to present to you a suggested communications plan for this very important initiative. So I will be covering a lot of different items today, and feel free to jump in and ask questions as we go, or if you want to wait to the end. I will be talking about a variety of different audiences that we'll be talking to and tactics, the timeline for the communications plan, the budget as well, and then I've got 2 creative concepts to show you and to see and hopefully try and get some direction on how you want us to move forward, because it really is important that we're able to move forward and start educating our residents on this initiative, especially as candidates are going out knocking on doors asking for signatures. So let's begin. All right. So this is a very strong informational communications campaign with 2 primary objectives: to create awareness of the redistricting and impacts of redistricting, and also to inform residents on their new districts and eventually their polling locations should those change. I'd like to talk about different tactics that we'll use, and some of these may be familiar to you, as we used a lot of similar communication tactics a few months ago with the bond referendum to reach voters. But again, this is informational, so not unlike most communications efforts, we will develop a landing page on the website. The interactive map where residents can go online and plug in their address to find out what district that they're located in is already available, both on voter registrars section of the website and also on the page that we've been following, the Holloway case. So what we'll do, based on the direction you provide me today, I'll be able to start building a new landing page specific to this initiative, and that will be the primary focus where all communications will drive. We will produce a series of VB411 videos which we have used in the past to reach residents that prefer video, and we'll have a spokesperson talking through some frequently asked questions and what this all means. We'll develop frequently asked question sheets, and this is something we can update to over time as questions come in to our office through social media or through the voter registrar's office. These will live on the website as well. We'll create a dedicated email address for residents who have questions specific to redistricting. And we'll utilize our email platform, our email marketing a platform that we have to reach out to our database of residents who have already subscribed to City News, and also social media. And I've got some examples of what that could look like here in a few slides. We do have a paid media budget for this informational communications plan, and I'll be going into detail of what that could look like. And then we do have 2 opportunities for direct mail. And Donna mentioned the requirement that she is required to use, I think about 60 days prior to voting starting, where she will be doing direct mail via letter to let citizens know about their polling location. So that is a great, from a budget standpoint and communications plan, that would come out of her budget, and that's huge saving for us. We also, just within a few weeks, will be able to partner with the real estate assessment office. The assessment letters will be going out to approximately 157,000 homes, and we'll be able to use that space. They'll give us some space to promote redistricting and how to get more information about the new voting system there. And then finally, we will create a community group online toolkit. This will be ideal for civic leagues, church groups, business groups, where they'll be able to access these materials and put them into their own materials that they're using to reach their constituent and stakeholder groups. And we'll make that available and promote that and reach out proactively to these different groups to let them know these materials are available. The next key audience for me is you. And so in addition to briefings like today, which we will do between, again, now and November, we can also offer monthly communications reports of all of the communication efforts, our reach, the response, the engagement that we're getting from citizens. We will produce the frequently asked question document that we can provide via the city manager's update. So anything that you need from us, I'm happy to create that, and based on your feedback, I can customize that based on the data and information that you want. For candidates who are already or starting to express interest, they too have access already to the interactive map on the voter registrar's page. They are certainly calling Donna's office, asking a lot of questions, and she and her team are doing a phenomenal job of trying to answer as many questions they have answers to and circling back. The state is making guides available, candidate guides available that she's sharing, and then we too will create FAQ sheets for candidates as well. So I'll be working very closely with the voter registrar team to understand every week what kind of questions are coming in, how can we build out these materials, and make sure everyone who's reached out are getting the same information across the board. For my friends with the media, of course, we will produce press releases for them as information comes out, particularly I think probably right away when the new website landing page is created. We'll push that information out. I'm happy to coordinate interviews for them with key personnel, and we can also produce briefing sheets for the media, specifically making it really easy for them to help get the word out about this major change. And I know those types of things are always appreciated. And then finally, last but certainly not least, our city employees. There's over 7,000 of us, and we often, when we go home, we're asked a lot of questions about what's going on in the city, whether we're at a backyard barbecue or just on the phone with our friends talking to our neighbors. And I really think this is a good opportunity to create materials specific to them so they can go out and be informational ambassadors. So there's a lot of tools available for us in-house that we have access to, and that includes an intranet where we can post materials on a website. We'll certainly create FAQ sheets for them, a very specific employee toolkit for them to use, and then we have a lot of internal meetings. And there's also a new member orientation packet that we create for all new employees when they come in about council. It has your bios, and that's another tool that we can put information about for new people coming on board to the organization to let them know about the redistricting too. This is a look at the timeline for these materials and the rollout. I know it's really important that we activate right away, and so what I've done here is I've taken some of those key tactics and really spread it out over the course of the next several months, so you can see where we're emphasizing a lot of work up front to roll out really now, and then it's not necessarily it gets lighter in the summer, but we know that during the summertime it's really hard to capture the attention of our residents. And from a paid media standpoint, I want to use the money that we have for this communications effort wisely. So we'll heavy up right now, leading into March, and then we would activate again, almost like a second flight, about mid-August through November. But you can see here how we've spread out social media across every month, the reports to you. Email marketing is something we can do. And of course, the press releases and media materials too as it goes, as information comes along. We do have a $200,000 paid media budget for this communications effort. And again, I mentioned the 2 different flights. So what I've done here is provided you a recommendation. Of course, this is subject to change. It might vary depending on the media planner that we work with, who will really be able to work with us to identify any added value reach. But it crosses all the best practice communication tactics, everything from paid social media to digital streaming radio and traditional radio. I personally feel that this campaign has a lot of strength in radio, and I'm going to show you what that could look like here soon when I show you the creative. I have allocated a portion of the budget to broadcast and cable TV. My recommendation would be to save that for the second flight when we can really, it's that season, it's election season. I think people will be paying a lot of attention. We can really maximize our reach there. The direct mail is a value added piece, since the voter registrar's office and real estate assessment office would be providing that for us. And then there would be a fee affiliated with the media planning itself. Three key messages would be the pillars of this campaign. Now, we know in advertising and marketing, we really want to get people's attention with some key information and then drive them through to dive deeper. So I'll go through these. The 3 key messages. 1, simply, your voting system has changed. In the past, Virginia Beach residents could vote for all 11 council members, including the mayor. Beginning this year, November 2022, residents will only be able to vote for candidates who live in their newly defined district, as determined by the U.S. District Court. All residents will still be able to vote for the mayor. The mayor's election will take place in 2024. The 3rd key message, everyone is in a new district, and your polling location may change. Why? The City of Virginia Beach is complying with the U.S. District Court ruling, which concluded that this new system and these district boundaries are required to comply with the Voting Rights Act of 1965. What else do I need to know? While complying with the District Court's ruling, the City of Virginia Beach is also appealing the case to the Court of Appeals for the 4th District to defend the principle that citizens, rather than the courts, should determine their own electoral system and district boundaries. We are not the only city to go through redistricting. I did a lot of research looking at cities across the country. Visually, I wanted to show you what some of those communication visual identities have looked like. So I pulled 3 examples here. You can see Nashville, LA, and Austin, Texas. And I wanted to give you just a quick look at this before I dive into recommendations for creative for our communications efforts. Austin being the most recent city of the 3 to go to a 10-1 system. Creative concept number 1. Redistricting Virginia Beach. Everything you need to know about redistricting. This visual is very clean, modern, and to the point. It does, I feel, visually give residents confidence during change that we will help them. We are going to make sure they have everything that they need to understand the changes that are before them. Here's what this visual identity would look like across different marketing collateral, from fact sheets, brochures, mobile friendly. I think it's a really clever use of the regarding, the RE, that will become the identity. Anytime somebody sees that, they'll know it's about redistricting. So that pull-through will exist across all the different communication tactics. We will also do a great job in driving public engagement and participation primarily through social media. This is a look at how this visual could look in a social media post on Facebook to the left, or an Instagram story on the right, where we're highlighting how many people this week went to check their address to figure out what district they're in. Or we can ask quizzes or have polls. Do you know your new voting district? Check yes, no. So we'll be able to even come up with a hashtag that we could thank people for going to check what district they're in, and really have a lot of engagement on social, identify FAQs, and be able to update the rest of our materials based on how people are talking to us and the questions they're asking on social. I mentioned before, I do feel this is a very strong opportunity for radio, and so I have created a radio spot here. Again, this is just for concept only, but it'll give you a feel for what the creative could sound like, and again, it would be adjusted based on the timeline. So we might put something out earlier now with a particular message, and we'd be able to adjust it. So I'll just read this out loud, and I'm not a radio voiceover specialist, but I'll do my best. Virginia Beach residents, your voting system has changed. 10 new districts have been defined by the U.S. District Courts, and you'll now vote on one candidate who lives in your district and the mayor. It's called the 10-1 system. Go to www.vbgov.com/redistricting regarding your new district, your polling location, and who's on your ballot for 2022.
That's pretty good, Tiffany.
Thanks. I've got another one. Just wait. All right. Creative concept number 2. This one's a little bit more bold. It's inspired by sports fans and has already generated a lot of dialogue internally. 10 new districts, 1 mayor, 1 big city. Virginia Beach Big 10 Redistricting 2022. Again, both concepts will do the same thing, inform residents on everything they need to know, but this one really puts a lot more emphasis on these 10 districts. So now I will preface by saying this is with legal right now. I'm doing my due diligence. We're checking with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to make sure we're not violating anything in that arena. So if you're a sports fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Even visually, it's brighter colors, it's just a lot stronger. And this is what this could look like across a variety of communication tools, including online on our website.
Tiffany, can I ask you?
Sure.
We're always, we're known as Bayside and Lynn Haven, and now all we have are numbers that this judge has given us.
Right.
I was just kind of wondering, to get people more engaged in all of this, is this maybe if each district had a naming contest?
Absolutely. I think.
You know? And maybe the council person who's in that district can help decide what that name will be. But, I mean, maybe District 7 may still be Princess Anne. No, District 2, excuse me, will still be Princess Anne. But it's just, these numbers seem so cold compared to what we've always had in the past. So
I did get some history on that from the legal team that let me know, I believe it was 1996, through public input, council created an ordinance to name the districts and then give them names through public engagement that helped identify and celebrate the history, the culture, and the icons of those areas. So my recommendation would be that would be a phenomenal phase 2. Once we get through this introductory informational effort, that would be a phenomenal public engagement effort. I'd be happy to support
get
that.
people more engaged and, and you're right. I think they need an introduction to kind of get over the shock of what it is. And then the kind of like the sandwich approach, have the good stuff in the middle.
Absolutely.
And then, maybe engaged the schools in that district and the, civic leagues and all of that. But, I mean, I haven't really talked about this with my colleagues, but, I mean, I'd rather have a name than just a number. Because I just think that's kind of what we've done in the past, and it's more Virginia Beach to me. So thank you.
Come. Here's what Big 10, and I actually have some alternative versions of this should we need to pivot away from big, but just some examples of what the digital ads would look like online. And now it's time for some more radio copy. Changes to a voting system, that's a big deal for Virginia Beach, the state's largest city. 10 new districts have been defined by the U.S. District Court with roughly 46,000 residents in each district. That's big news for the beach. It's called the 10-1 system. Virginia Beach residents, go to www.vbgov.com/Big 10 to learn what this means for you and your vote this fall. So I think that's a good sampling from a creative direction. Again, still achieving the same objectives, but in a little bit different way. So at this time, I'd love to get your feedback, your thoughts on everything from the key messages to the earned, owned, and paid media campaign recommendation and timeline.
So before we start, does anybody have any questions for Chris Boynton?
I did.
Okay.
I have comments.
Okay.
Thank you. I think it's important for all the listeners, the public who's listening out there. I think Chris Boynton gave a great presentation, a solid presentation of the information. But one of the key things that was missing in that presentation was the cost of an appeal. Now, I think I've made my position quite clear on this body and on this council. But the cost of an appeal in this case is in the millions, upwards of millions. Now, tonight we've already talked about being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars and finding tax relief, and we talked about the unmet needs of the community. But the people should also be told the cost of continuing this appeal, which again is upwards in the millions of dollars. And so with that thought, going forward, I think the people should have a say-so in that, of whether or not they want to continue an appeal going forward that's going to continue to cost them taxpayer dollars. And so with that, Mark, I will be reaching out to you to work on a resolution to bring forth for this council to decide whether or not they want to continue going forward with an appeal, again, that's costing in upwards of millions of dollars. It was noted in the presentation in April of 2021 that the city authorized an appeal. But now I think where we are in considering the cost, the public should be informed. I think the public should have a say-so in that as well and decide whether or not they want to continue to spend their dollars fighting a case that a federal judge has deemed discriminatory. Now with that, or deemed that violates the Federal Voting Rights Act of 1965. With that being said, there are merits that council members have provided to continuing an appeal in this case. But I think where we are now in this day and being in a budgetary cycle, the public should have a say-so on their position on where they stand with that. So that would be my comments for Chris Boynton piece of it. To you, Ms. If I could finish. If I could finish.
Are you finished with Chris?
Yes, I'm finished. I said I'm finished with
Can
Chris.
we just finish Chris right now with
Sure.
amongst the body? Thank you, Mr. Rouse.
I just had a question for Chris. If Chris could tell us, since we last met, what our next court date, I think I've heard some rumors anyway that we actually have a date for oral argument in the Fourth Circuit, and that would be something I'd like him to comment on.
Okay.
Or maybe Mr. Stiles can.
I can answer that question. And it was in the PowerPoint presentation.
Yep.
The Fourth Circuit has advised us preliminarily to be prepared for oral argument between March 8 and 11. Now, that's not finally setting it, but they're telling us to reserve those dates for a potential oral argument.
I know it was in the presentation. I just wanted to highlight it because that's an important
Thank you for doing
milestone.
that.
Thank you, Mr. Stiles.
Does
Thank
anybody
you,
else
Vice
have
Mayor.
any questions for Chris Boynton? Okay, Mr. Rouse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Tiffany, for your presentation as well. Thank you, Ms. Patterson, also. Being that we have a clarity on where we're going to go, far as notifying and informing the public on the options, we have to communicate with them on the new voting system. I'll direct my questions for you, Ms. Tiffany. Mailers, what can we do immediately to inform the public? One of the things I found to be really helpful is direct mailers, and I was wondering if they could be mailed out district specific, so people aren't having to go and look and to find out what district they live in. But if they receive something in the mail from the city, hey, you live in new district 6. This is your voting district. Is that something where, like, what are your thoughts on that?
It certainly can be done. I would just need to coordinate, obviously, with the printer, the mailing house, and with GIS to make sure all those stars aligned, so we don't make any mistakes.
Is that
but
too
that's
big of an
something-
ask?
It's not too big of an ask. I think it's a great tactic to look into. From a cost standpoint, it would impact the budget as presented. We did this a few months ago. The more customized you get, the higher the cost will be, even from a printing standpoint and mailer standpoint. We're looking at approximately $56,000 to do direct mail.
Okay. Thank you.
John?
You mentioned using the property tax assessment as a mailer. We got to this court case because we're trying to deal and address the need to create majority districts and opportunities for minorities. Well, disproportionately minorities rent versus buy. That's just a statistic, good, better, and different. So I think maybe we should think of putting something every month in the bill that we get every month, the one that we all love, the community services bill. That is received by a larger distribution of people. And I think that's something we should consider versus maybe the property tax assessment, because there is some kind of bias in that, just to throw that
Not
out.
everybody gets that.
I know everybody doesn't get it, but
Like, I
more
live in a condo and I don't get it.
more people get that than get the property tax assessment, that's for certain. Now, if I wanted to also cover, I think, because there are people, HOAs, where there are, but the water company knows that, right? We can make poster boards and have them provided to those places for the lobbies. They all have lobbies, plus, like I did last night, thank you for all that material, it was very successful. I spoke with the Old Beach Civic League last night, about 40 people were there, it went very well. But that kind of material in our libraries, the hardboard kind of foam board kind of stuff where people go to. But I do think that if you can put in property tax, and because you're putting something in there's no additional weight for the mailing, well then obviously you do it. But the thing that the most people get is that water bill, and there is a way to deal, but that is the central, and I have queried on this, so I know it's true, that the number of people serviced by these central thing is a much smaller number than the number we could reach by reaching it, and we could look at other alternatives, but it's just something we've already paying the postage, and it can be formatted into the front page. I'm just suggesting it gets us out to a larger group of folks about that, and I assume that we're doing multiple languages, We'll be doing some of these in Spanish, I assume.
We do have translation services available to us through the city. I know in the past we have used a variety of different outlets too to make sure we're really covering our entire community in that way. I love the suggestion of the water bill insert. We're looking at, I believe that was around $3,000 in the past for one mailing. So I can look at that and revise the media budget with these recommendations.
Just a thought, look and see what makes sense. I'm not saying it has to be, I'm just throwing out things. And I also know that in our latest census, we had a huge growth, which caused me to ask, in our Hispanic population, really significantly increased. And that's what made me reach out. So maybe there's a way to reach out to those cultural groups possibly, or those, we can take advantage of Mr. City Manager, the district information that we have that was provided by the court case itself.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to look at, make sure that we're implementing this system for a reason. I want to make sure that we are equally reaching out to those minority communities as we educate them before they vote.
Thank you. That's good feedback and very thoughtful.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Branch.
Just a thought, as this moves forward, are you in touch with the school system and what they're going to be doing? And is there any possibility down the road of maybe coordinating the efforts with the schools?
I am in touch with the school's PIO, so based upon the direction I received tonight, that would certainly be one of my immediate next steps to see how they want to collaborate and what opportunities are there for efficiencies.
They're kind of in the same situation we are right now, as we don't know exactly what we would be sending out at this very moment because it's still in a little bit of flux. But at some point, I think we're going to know what's going on, and I hope we're prepared at that point to maybe for economy of scales of having a joint communication effort.
I would believe that both of us are very adamant and we understand the importance of getting information out quickly, even if we know more updates are coming or we don't know the answers. I'd rather have a lot of touch points. So,
and they may have some means of communication that we don't have.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Good feedback.
So Tiffany, if I might, it's not just the voting system has changed, it's also the districts and becoming where people represent a district.
That's right.
People need to know, okay, well, I need to contact Mr. Holcomb if I have a problem. How do we get that information out?
That should be different.
I do feel, and this is actually a pilot project I'm working on right now through the implementation of some new software, that we are working towards a way that we can start personalizing communications by district in preparation for this. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there moving forward. In terms of this initial campaign launch, having all the information that was presented to you just now in a very consumer-friendly format will be really important. So we can...
Of course, be thinking about that so that people...
Yes.
They need to know who represents each district and who to call if their street lights out or whatever their problem is. And the other thing I wanted to ask, is there a way that y'all can send each of us the civic leagues that are in our district and the contact people so that we could reach out to them?
Absolutely.
And let them know who we are and that we're available in case, I mean, like I'm at large, so this is a whole different ballgame for me. And like Mr. Branch is Lynn Haven, but all of a sudden you've got a whole new district. And so does Mr. Jones. You know, Mr. Bayside's got a whole new district of people that, I mean, you always represent everybody, but it's just different. So if we could get a list of those civic leagues and the contact people, I think that would be helpful too. Ms. Henley?
The difficult thing is conveying to the public what this really means. And we're not going to be wards in the fashion that some areas have it, where the ward representative actually has authority to do things. I mean, I don't think we know yet everything about this or to understand it. But don't forget, all 11 council members will still be voting on issues that come before us that involve other districts or wards. I mean, we don't want to convey to people the idea that your ward representative is going to be the one making all the decisions for your ward. It's still going to be made by the entire body. So how this whole thing is going to work is different. So we don't want to give the impression that that ward representative is going to be making the decisions for that ward. I think we've got to figure this system out, and I don't know how we're going to do that. But anyway, I think we have to be, I think what you've done is very general, and that's good, because all it means at this point is you're only going to be voting for one representative instead of 10. And that's the message at this point until we really find out how this is going to work.
Flexibility will be absolutely key. And you're right, it is a good template. I think the tactics here are pretty universal, and we know that we can reach residents with these tools. The message will evolve over time. But of course, I will come to you and let you know what that looks like, and we'll have dialogue about it as well.
Madam Mayor, if I could. When I spoke to North Beach Civic League last night, it was about 4 people, Old Beach Civic League, so that's a pretty good representative group, and they did ask some of the very questions that you just mentioned, and then obviously I said, but at the same token, there's no going back. So they were interested in how things would still get, I said, nothing's changed about how the council makes decisions, but there is a difference in who you can hold accountable for the decisions that are made. And that's true in Congress, that's true in the General Assembly. And once I got that, they understood the concept. And I said, there's good and there's bad, and there's good and the bad in Richmond, there's good and the bad in Washington, and there'll be the good and the bad in Virginia Beach. I says, and only time will tell. But I think the people are pretty mature of understanding the model, that when you kind of put it in those terms. But obviously there's some anxiety, but I didn't find them that it was beyond their. Then they did ask, because they're mostly concerned about what? That their neighborhoods were divided by the districts. That was the biggest issue. And I says, well, that only issue can be resolved if ultimately we win our case on appeal. Then we will be, as you mentioned, we will be in charge of, at a future date, maybe still having to comply with the state law and those things, not the Federal Voting Rights Act law, but we probably would draw lines that probably didn't divide Pembroke or Old Beach or these places, and they would kind of reflect the geography and communities. But that was the biggest concern that was expressed that night, was that neighborhoods were being split up.
Well, I think all of this is one step at a time.
Any other
We really
questions?
appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
And
So I think, Madam Vice Mayor,
Yes.
we do need some guidance on which one do you prefer, Big Ten or redistricting, if anything, or if you want us to just make a decision, we can make a decision.
Well, do we want to go around and say if you liked
Let us
number
think
1
about
or
it.
number 2, or you want to think about it, or?
You think about it, please.
Okay.
talk
I
about it
also,
next week?
I'll just show an alternative to Big Ten, which
Hope
would
it's
just,
the ACC.
we do run the risk of people talking more about sports than redistricting, but this is another look, what that visual identity could be. But really is, again, 2 different look and feels.
So, Madam Vice Mayor?
Wait, 1 second. Ms. Wooten?
No, I just thank you, Ms. Tiffany, for providing this information. I'd just like to give my initial, comments into seeing both perspectives. I'd say the first one, as you said, is very clean, but it's something as well as you can. I think it kind of blends in with our website and the things we have on our website a lot. It kind of blends in with what we normally do, and it can easily be, I don't want to say discarded, but overlooked. The second one is, of course, more vibrant, gets your attention. And something of this magnitude, whether you call it the Big Ten or whatever you call it, you need something that stands out and gets people's attention. Otherwise, they'll just scroll on through. And we don't need something, in my opinion, that kind of blends in. You need something that stands out gets people's attention. So that's just my thought and my first, I guess, comments of what I see.
Thank you.
Sure. And great job as well.
Oh, well, thank
Great
you.
job.
Well, I was going to say, it just reminded, listening to the comments about, I had an opportunity last night to speak to CTEC, Community Civic League, and they were really, informed about the new voting system, but really excited, and also that they had an opportunity to be represented. I think for quite some time, the CTEC community has felt as though they were underrepresented. And so this system that we have coming, that we have here, that's here now, they're looking forward to understanding what that means for them and having representation. And also, the lines were discussed as well. Some members of CTEC thought they was in District 5, others thought they were in District 6. So that was part of one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure, not just for CTEC, but for our entire community, the specific district mailers, so they know exactly what districts that they're in, so there's no, ambiguity in that. But again, they're very excited about this and what this means to have representation for their community. Thank you.
All right, I think it's been a very productive meeting, Mr. Dehaney. Is there anything you'd like to add at the end?
Just, can we possibly get a decision from council is next week, Donna? Because we need to roll out the communication to the public and get the mailers and get everything all situated. Yeah, so is next week too soon for the council to come back?
I would say for myself, I could tell you, as one person, I like VB10.
Okay. Does anyone greatly oppose that look and feel?
Have we done any focus groups at all about that?
You are my second focus group following some employees, but that could be something.
What were the results of the first one? That's important information for us.
It is.
BB10 was the one. Yeah.
Okay, well then, I don't have any objection to it. I mean, if it gets a bad reaction, you stop using it.
Thank you.
Right?
Fair.
Timing is not our friend.
We do need to act quickly. I can have a lot of these materials up online, ready to go early next week, which would be ideal.
Oh, okay. I like it.
Thank you.
Is that what we're going to do?
That's what we're going to do.
All right.
I have no opposing. All right, thank you, everyone.
Okay. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Not the 16th.
Yep.
That school board thing,
7 minutes ahead of time.
that's total crap.
That's a nightmare.
Vice Mayor, before you go.
They don't do that. Yeah, but 54 thing.
So we would immediately just do.
It was
With that, you put in my subject, it writes out all of those.